but I just kind of like them as a gameplay choice.
Oh, sure, they look great, but they're lore breaking, so it's kind of like, why are they thinking this now in the third game? You know, it's like, why? Okay, we're live. Thanks, guys, for joining us this afternoon. I'm joined by Glib, Shiny, myself, of course, and we have the voice in the radio. In case you don't know who these guys are, they do have their own channels. They do have their own Twitter. You can check them out. They're all in the description. If anyone wants to introduce themselves, you can go right ahead right now in case no one knows, because I'm sure everyone will find out as they watch. But if you want to do so right now, go ahead, share the next minute. We'll start on the left with Glib. If you want to introduce yourself, go right ahead, Glib.
Ladies first. How do I sound right now?
You don't feel like doing it? Oh, come on.
I mean, I don't know.
Where's the enthusiasm? Come on.
I'm just trying to get my audio correct because I switched my audio out. I hate the way that I've been sounding on the last couple episodes. That's my introduction.
To me.
I'm here to rip and tear. I came to bear a sword and not the book. I came to destroy my enemies and see them driven before me, hear the lamentations of their women in my bed. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you, Glib, for coming. Always nice.
Is that good enough?
Sure, that's fine. That's great. Everyone knows you by your quotes. That works too.
Yes.
So, Shiny, tell us about yourself. Shiny.
Oh, your voice just kind of glitched out for me. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, just go ahead. The room is yours.
What do you expect me to say about myself?
Your channel, what you're doing. Okay. People know you.
You are a Star Wars.
I guess, yeah, I'm a Star Wars guy. I do visual effects. I've done interviews with Smudboy, LiteratureDevil, and Rags and Southpaw about objectivity and film criticism. And because of personal things, I haven't been able to get any more fucking videos done. Is that description?
That is totally fine. Thank you, sir. And now we have voice from the radio. Tell us about yourself.
I started this because I was drunk and bored. I'm an aspiring.
Enough reason.
Yes. I'm an aspiring, I suppose, voiceover artist would be the way to describe myself. Game designer, and I started up a channel in which I critique films. As of right now, I only have mostly Star Wars under my belt, including an upcoming 9-hour critique series coming up. I'm a third of the way through the first part of critiquing The Rise of Skywalker. I've got like 6 hours to go. Channel's only got 5 videos up, but hopefully that will change soon. But yeah, that's basically it. You should check me out. The videos are decent, and by so extension, am I.
All right, 9 hours. Holy crap, that's going to take a while. And in case you guys want more information, they're all in the description to all the other people who aren't currently on as well. So in case we miss someone or if they're not available, they're definitely in the description, so you can click on them and see what their channel is all about. So if you need any questions answered, just ask them to our people directly. It's not all just me. Go ahead and say whatever you like in the chat. I'm pretty open to it, unless Shiny... Actually, no, we took off the ban hammers, so there's no more bannings, hopefully. That was weird the last time. We're not sure what that was about.
The ban hammer will only be returned to me when the fucking spam bops come.
Yeah, that was odd. But, okay, let's actually load up the video.
When Minecraft is streaming.
Oh, really? Minecraft, ooh.
It's important. It's one of those vital things we can't do without.
Okay, so...
Very important. Obviously, it's the most important thing.
Well, Minecraft is a pretty big property, so I guess that would be streaming constantly somewhere in the world, 24/7. So.
Someone somewhere is streaming Minecraft.
Exactly. So... Okay, we're going to be looking at a video from, I don't know who's this guy, what this guy's name is. What's Xanderhal? Okay, and he's a self-proclaimed bread tuber, so you can imagine what kind of things he has to say about people who don't think the same way as him. And he decided to take sites.
Put the link in again, by the way.
Sorry?
So you're going to have to put the link in again and the watch together.
Oh, sure. 1 second.
I can't wait for this. This is going to be fun. I've been drinking for the last 3 hours.
Is it really going to be fun?
I can't wait to have my politics described to me by many, many political experts online.
I'm something of a professional at politics, so I can't be wrong. I'm excited.
I am the least political person I know. But I'm here either way.
Joy. Okay, let's get going.
Smut, let me ask you a question. Do you have me turned up on your mic on your side?
Let me check. You're about 170%. I can crank you up to max.
Can you? Can you put me at 100 and then I'll turn myself up? Because I
Works.
Go ahead, crank yourself up.
Okay. So, is that any better?
Fantastic.
Okay, because I feel like I'm clipping audio on the last ones, and I sound like I'm talking through a cell phone microphone from 1978.
You sound better than me.
Well, that's your
go-to
shtick,
method
sir.
for my
I don't want that to be my shtick, especially after I spent all this money on audio equipment. That'd be fucking horrible.
my go-to method for muffling my voice so it sounds a bit more bassy is to literally put a wool hat over my microphone. So you'll do it.
Well, I got pop filters. I got 2 different audio like sound cards. Basically, I have a mixing board and everything like that. So for me to have the lowest quality audio is like, what's going on here?
Well,
And
I
think that's the reason.
I've got an 80-20-20. It's like hooked up to this fucking thing, and then it goes straight into my computer, and I've got audio software and shit.
I was hoping to build a new new desktop, and get a new microphone. But as a board game designer in this current economy, being furloughed means you don't get much money.
No, not at all.
So here we are.
You need to come up with the next
Send me money,
$1 million
please.
card game.
All I have
You
is
can sell to the Chinese.
all I have in my fridge is oatmeal and peanut butter. Please donate.
You can't even make a sandwich with that.
Donate,
I've got no bread. Oh, Marmite, yes, send me Marmite.
Oh dear.
Vegemite will do.
So if you guys don't know anything about this fellow, he left a thumbnail of, I believe it's Jeremy in his car. There's a artist rendition of him on the right, and then there's a pink balding man with bloodshot eyes, literally blood coming out of his nose, with glasses, screaming. And the title of the thumbnail is GG Malding, and Malding stands for angry and balding, I think. Is that?
Oh, that describes just about the phase of my life that I'm getting into.
You're right. So the topic is that SJWs are ruining Star Wars, and you could take that multiple ways, whether it's from the director's chair or from the fans or the writers or what have you. So obviously, because he's left-leaning, he thinks that's false, and he has his own opinions on that, and he's taking umbrage with Jeremy, I imagine. So
out of curiosity, how do you feel about Jeremy as a whole? Just before we get into this,
I like Jeremy as a person. I would love to hang out with him. If Jeremy's listening to this right now, let's get a beer. Let's play some
I can always
Mario
give you Jeremy's
Kart.
email.
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't have a reason to, you know what I mean? But I'd love. He's the kind of guy that I like to hang out with. He's a hybrid geek. He's a geek. He also likes sports. He doesn't back down to political opinions or whatever, but he keeps it separate on a different channel. I know people have had a problem with him. I know Southpaw had a whole thing with him, but I don't think it was like ultimately negative.
No, I think it ended pretty well, from what I remember.
Yeah.
I could see myself getting on with him very well. My only grievance is that sometimes I think he says these outlandish things, and I think he could really do with articulating what he says a bit more. And it would save him from the backlash that he occasionally gets, and he doesn't tend to do too well with getting backlash. And I think it could be avoided if he sort of elaborated more.
I feel like that's his country boy attitude.
Yeah.
I have personal experience with Jeremy, as I used to work with Geeks and Gamers very early on, as I think back when they only had like 10 K subs or something like that.
Amazing.
And that was really back when I was using things like Element 3D and After Effects. That is something that I'm not proud of. Those days I'm not proud of. But I had plenty of chats with him, and he was very nice and very accommodating, and he seemed like a swell guy. The only problem is that it's usually the problems I have with him is like I don't know how to quite describe it, but
he says things that could really do with some more explanation.
Yeah, he's very quick to jump the gun as well.
Not to say that's
And
a bad thing, it's just sort of more his style, but I think if you're going to get into that sort of field of discussion, you really need to sit down and script what you're going to say a bit more.
Yes.
Which is why I think he ends up in hot water more than he really deserves to be.
Okay, so he does have
So
some
yeah, I don't have any problem
fact-finding
with him.
that he has to.
And I
be
have, in
more-
fact, have a good history with him.
Right, so he has to be more accurate in his research, I imagine, or his opinions, less off the cuff.
I think so.
Okay, all right.
Is when he's talking about when he's saying how he's called out the to quote unquote these SJWs for years now. I kind of just wish that he wouldn't say that, because it's kind of like giving them ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to give those kind of hyperbolic, I call them hyperbolic individuals, that sort of wiggle room. It's like, oh, I wish you just said that differently. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know they'll know what you mean, but they'll interpret it differently.
One thing I've mentioned to him personally is that the only time I've ever had a bit of a tiff with him is when I said to him that he really needs to be more careful about how he articulates what he says, because a lot of the time he ends up in hot water because of the way he says things. So I said to him, oh yeah, you have to be more careful because you don't want to land in hot water. It's like, he says, well, no matter what I say, people are going to articulate it into other things, so I may as well not do it at all. It's like, well, it's not the way you should treat it.
I do believe the actual channel has more than just him on it, though, so it's not just him.
Oh yes, I can't remember the name specifically, but yeah, the Geeks and Gamers is like a whole thing. They have a website, they have streams, they do gaming and shit.
So it's more than just Jeremy.
Yeah, there's also what's it called? Anime Lately, and all kinds of stuff.
I wanna just publicly say that I love Geeks and Gamers. I love Jeremy and what he's doing. And Jeremy's not bald. He has a lovely head of hair that looks like Justin Timberlake's hair from 1998. And he hides it. And that's why people think he's maulding or something like that.
I remember something. I just remember because you reminded me. When I first talked to Jeremy, he said, does it look like I have eyebrows? I was like, oh, yes. Some people says I don't have the eyebrows in my video. It's like, well, this is the way you start a conversation. Okay,
oh yeah, no, he sounds like my dad. That sounds like something my dad would say. Because he's got the blonde, blonde hair and all that. But Jeremy's the kind of dude that he comes off with a strong opinion. And then when you know him, you know that he's not a softie, but he's a genuinely good dude. And I don't think that there's any part of his personality that's out there to try and mess with people, except when he makes like a mistake and makes a bad take, or somebody tries to take issue with him. Especially, if you try to fight him, he's gonna come up to you and be like, "I'm not gonna back down. I'm coming at you." And that's his entire attitude. So I just enjoy the idea of going to Waffle House with him at 3 a.m. after drinking.
Okay, so we all have some background on Jeremy. I have no idea who this Xander fellow is, so news to me, guys. I don't know what's going to happen. I watched a little bit of the video. Some of it was kind of cringy, but that's just because he sounds that way and his opinions are very different than mine. So
I'd just like to give before we start, a shout out to everybody that's sticking through it with us instead of going to EFAP when they.
Oh, really?
Guys, yeah.
I just accuse Moore of being a copycat. It's fine.
Get Mauler on, then he can't do an EFAP.
Long mode.
There you go.
All right, let's begin, guys.
Or have a crossover.
For some reason, usually when I get comments and notifications,
this guy looks like
on my old videos from
can I
back
just
when I
pause?
first started doing this, it's overwhelming.
Is someone getting Captain Sparkles vibes from this guy?
That are like, "Oh, your videos
yes.
fucking suck, dude." Holy
But he's like
shit,
a really
so
pathetic
bad.
version of Captain Sparkles.
Okay, yeah, all right. I mean, my old shit did suck pretty bad. I think I made some good points, but I wasn't.
I think it's
very
also
good at
the
rhetoric
hair
back then.
as well.
But for some reason,
I honestly see this guy being related to him.
back in the day. It was like one of my first ever
That's
streams
not specifically a bad
was
thing.
on Geeks and Gamers, and for some reason, almost all the notifications I get for comments on that video
It's good to
are
know.
positive,
Ultimate Agent
and
25.
they're all shitting on
Smud
Geeks
Boy,
and Gamers.
Xanderhal used to be called Pig Puncher. He had a stream trying to own ER when PewDiePie promoted him.
That was like last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pig puncher. Okay.
I'm gonna start reading chats like Chris Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I met Jeremy at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago a couple years ago. Seems like a good dude. Just wish he would temper that knee-jerk reaction a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good, right?
I don't know who you're impersonating, but okay.
Why don't you take a seat over here? You guys ready?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Which is surprising to me because I don't really get a lot of positive comments on my really old shit from like a year ago. So I figured it's been about a year since I started doing this whole, which is surprising to me because I don't really get a lot of positive comments on my really old shit from like a year ago. So I figured it's been about a year since I started doing this whole bread tube thing. Why don't we go back
Okay.
and celebrate that by looking at some of my older things that I used to cover?
What does it
Starting with-
mean to be a bread tuber anyway?
It means you're
From-
you're like a socialist communist type.
It means your
Right.
brain has the same consistency of the bubbly, airy stuff inside bread.
Oh, okay.
But in all honesty, it's this kind of next generation
But
socialism.
bread? Where did bread come from in that?
Because
There's
of bread
a
lines?
philosopher who invented the term, and it sort of stuck with the Marxist community. I can't remember the name. And the funny thing is that they're making money off a capitalist platform. So maybe they're sticking it to the man. I don't know, something along those lines. So they feel a sense of community by attacking anyone who has a differing opinion. And hey, great, more power to them.
Cool.
Here's the definition according to Urban Dictionary. A bread tube, a community of left-wing YouTubers and the subreddit associated with them. A reference to anarchist Peter Kropotkin, his 1892 book, The Conquest of Bread. Some of the YouTubers associated with it include ContraPoints, H. Bomber Guy, Sean, Three Arrows, Philosophy Tube, and that weird kid in the back of the class that smells bad.
Is that actually?
No, that's not in there. I just added that.
That would have been great if that was actually on Urban Dictionary, and I could imagine someone just putting it in there.
All right. Well, that's his background, and then the other thing is that, from what I read, not from what I read, but from what I watched of the Beige Frequency video about Quentin referring to ContraPoints, BreadTube is sort of a joke. So people that seriously call themselves BreadTubers are usually people that come to it honestly and don't get that there's a level of irony that they're steeped in by being on the channel. They're the earnest, useful idiots, as opposed to the cynical ones that would be like a Quentin or a bad faith argumentation expert like H. Bomber Guy.
He knows what he is, okay? It's all that matters.
And they're like, yeah, I know I'm on the internet and I'm making money. That's what I have to do to survive. As I'm a bread tuber, but when we achieve revolution, then I won't. My name's Bad Mouse Productions. I was raised very nicely, but I want to revolt.
Well, he's embracing the moniker. You know, more power to him if he can do it, and he can take all the slings and arrows too. So, good for him.
If you
Yes.
are a dense bread tuber, are you more like a baby?
Yes, we should over the course of this, if other bread tubers come up, we should define what type of bread they are.
Oh, God.
So like Quentin is obviously like
Vosh would be like a what? Piece of rye bread.
it was sweet bread or something
I
like
don't
that.
know.
Something that gives you diabetes. ContraPoints is banana bread for obvious reasons. Anyway. Oh yeah, we have bagel theory too. You don't understand. It's this. We are the bagels in bread tube. We are the circular, the Tao of reasoning. We are we are in between the bread and the donut. The needs and the wants. That is bagel theory. We are the rational people here. Anyway, I'm going off. We should get along with this because I can't wait to defend my milady, my Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy, my waifu.
Our boy Geeks and Gamers, who is unironically more pathetic than the quartering when it comes to the right-wing grift.
Oh.
Thank you, CatMD Rights, for the tier 1 sub. I
it's always a
appreciate it, buddy.
grift.
Like, this dude...
Starting off with the ad hominem is always a good sign.
I always find it funny when leftists say that the right-wing people are doing something as a grift, because usually right-wing people do it honestly. Like, you pay me for my services because it's part of my worldview. And then you have somebody like Bernie Sanders, who is legitimately grifting leftists out of their money and then giving it to like Hillary Clinton in 2016 and whoever now. I'm just like, you know, I don't like people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, but I do like the idea of you clean your house before you come over and tell me to clean mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Here's a super chat from GBOF Sid. Thank you, sir. BreadTube are nothing more than a group of self-entitled narcissists. Sorry, narcissists? Dressed
No, he meant narcissists.
I think so, yeah. Dressed themselves as political activists. Okay, sorry for... Thank you, okay. Yeah, it's hard to grasp these people because we have people like Vosh who are at one extreme of clown / advocate for destroying capitalism or government. I don't know exactly because he's also an anarchist, I think. And then you have just people who do media comparisons and happen to like left-leaning views. So was a sheep in the box, I think. So we have these big range of people of differing opinions, but they're all sort of like capitalism bad, Republicans bad, right wing anything bad. Like it's just this bizarre conglomerate of saying anyone who's on the right is bad.
Yeah, and it's a grift. It's always bad faith. It's never like you know what? I don't like Steven Crowder. I think he is like a negative person. I think he was mean to Carlos Maza, but you know, he does supply political points that his audience likes, and it's worth debating him. No, it's never like that. It's always like he's a piece of crap. He's trying to bring back the Third Reich. He's doing this and that, and I'm going to extrapolate all sorts of meaning from statements that are relatively innocuous.
Yeah, the first technique is always to demonize the opponent. Which
yet we are always wrong about socialism, never know the definition, and it's never been tried. Okay. It's always on us.
That socialism's that's not real socialism, or that's not real communism.
Yeah. Of course Maza deserves it, Flint. Of course he did. Anyway, it's forget karma. It's just about like good versus bad. You attack a bunch of people, you bite the hand that feeds, and then you want to be fed by the same fans, by the same people that you pissed on. Everybody knows how stupid that is.
Uploads. Just a fucking disgusting amount. The last time he talked about Brie Larson was a week ago. Oof, look at that. Looks like the Brie Larson memes aren't really coming in with as many views as they used to, huh? This guy...
Yeah,
Can I
hating
just
Brie
point out-
Larson...
Yeah,
hating Brie Larson is not a personality, so...
This was just during that period where he said he was going to hit Brie Larson every week or whatever. I think Ethan Van Sciver did a similar thing. It was just a burst fire of a bunch of videos.
Why?
But because I think she said a bunch of crazy things in like a week. She was like, she said something about Star Wars, and then she said something about how Captain Marvel wasn't made for white people, and then something else came up where she said she doesn't hate white people and all that stuff, and then that set off Jeremy, and so he just kept making a bunch of videos over and over again. But what I find interesting about this guy's statement is that it's like the opposite of the long man statement. Instead of a lot of quality content that takes a long time, you get a quantity of content every day. Kind of similar to what we're doing here because of all the quarantine stuff. It's just we're all configured to do that. But there's never going to be a moment where your content is going to earn their respect unless they agree with it. There's a lot of content that I disagree with that I really enjoy, you know, whatever the message is, but I don't understand why that is unavailable for my opposition. I don't understand why we have to be arguing against somebody that's just going to be completely negative about everything, and their analysis is going to be shaded before it even tries to get processed. How come And I'm doing opposition research. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I'm doing I have a debate that's coming up. I can't really get into it, but I was watching the people that I'm debating talk, and all they were doing was talking badly about the person that they were covering instead of the content. So I couldn't get any. I don't know how I'm supposed to debate somebody. I don't know how I'm supposed to engage with somebody who comes into a conversation and tries to attack character instead of discuss an issue, which is what I see with these BreadTube videos all the time.
Here's a super chat from
Oh, just-
Netcat. Thank you, sir. Watching you guys instead of EFAP, this looks fun. Well, thank you, sir. I don't know if it's going to be fun for us, but you might enjoy our
Have
video.
good taste. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
it's,
always have fun with
There
you
was
guys.
there was a. Did you read the one above that? G_B_O_F.
yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was not listening.
Thank you
One
for
thing
watching
I-
us, Netcat. Hopefully, this content, it's just a little bit different. And I guarantee EFAP will still be going by the time that we're done. I'll see you there.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's keep going then.
It's sort of
to
like-
warn about Jeremy is that I don't really. One thing I wish he would do a little bit more is have a bit more plan and structure to his videos and a little bit more thought, because a lot of his videos are just kind of made within a very short amount of time and just thrown out there.
Do you
And I just-
honest?
I prefer a lot more
Sorry.
quality over quantity.
100%. I'm sorry, Shiny. I keep interrupting you. I definitely shouldn't do that. But it's because you make
That's
such
fine.
like, strong points. I think.
You just like interrupting British people.
But British people are so smart.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm wondering if you think that Jeremy is when because this is what I saw with Southpaw. When he gets criticized, I think that he has a rationale behind certain things that he does. It's like, remember a couple days ago, and for the last couple days, we've had kind of smushed icons on the Smud stream, the Smudcast. We know that that's not the best it could be, and now it's better today. But Smud can't like stop the stream to fix those kinds of things. And when you look at the way that Geeks and Gamers operates, I think that there's something special about what he does that a lot of other channels do, which is he found a way to get other people to contribute to one thing on YouTube while they also have other channels, which is really kind of special. I don't think that there's many groups that come together to make videos, and he is his own guy making his own videos on his channel, and he's got his D-Day Cobra channel, which is more political and stuff. But he also has all these other creators who are part of his team, and I think that's a real testament to where his focus is. He wants to put that content out there. He wants to be a commentator. That's why he's mentioned next to the Quartering, because the Quartering does the exact same thing. Tim Pool does the exact same thing every day. It's always about putting out content that is a parasocial relationship version of a discussion about today's events. It's current geek event content. You're never going to get Jeremy sitting down with a movie and doing a chronological story breakdown like Mahler. It's just, and Mahler's never going to come out and push content on every day being like, hey, look at what Brie Larson said. You know what I mean? It's so what I'm wondering is if criticism that we have of YouTubers like Jeremy is if the same criticism can be applied evenly to these different people, or if we have to accept that certain content creators are going to be focused on certain things that we may not actually be focused in. Because I don't watch every Geeks and Gamers video. It's only the ones that I find very interesting. Some of these are like, whatever. I don't care about, him or Film Gob or whatever talking about Snyder Cut stuff because it's not my interest. But I know that audience exists. So I can't criticize them for hitting that audience. Can't do that for the BreadTubers either. All I can do is point out when they're wrong. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't know how many times G&G is wrong without it being a news update issue. Like when you get the story breaks and then you get a bunch of misinformation and you forward it. That's my biggest criticism. Lack of editorial patience.
I suppose it could be kind of compared to because it's kind of like a quasi news thing when it comes to media and stuff. It reminds me of what's this? It's a TYT. I used to watch them back when I was I was a very different person. I remember that a lot of what they did wasn't very well researched, and they were just kind of getting the facts and the information from a place and then putting them out again, along with their own opinions. And I think that maybe Jeremy should be more careful before just throwing like stuff out there without any kind of verification or checking.
I agree with that. 100%. I think that his channel could be improved by that. I also think that I know that Jeremy's response, if he were here right now, would be a myriad of reasons why he does the things that he does. And we would be like, yeah, but are you listening? That's that quirk,
All right, let's
Oh
keep
no,
going.
I don't doubt he would justify his reasoning at all. No.
Yeah.
It has like over 400 videos on Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. By the way, I'm not even
That's a
kidding.
bit
I'm
of an
not being.
exaggeration.
I'm not exaggerating
Yes.
here.
He just said he
think-
wasn't.
I think it
But
is
if we-
exaggerating.
I think you are.
If we. Holy shit! Grolag, thank you for the $25 donation, you fucking madman. I appreciate it, my duder. God damn.
Don't talk to your viewers that way. That's just
Yeah, if we
insulting.
just want to go through the list, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
You
18,
can just say one number, dude.
19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
That
We
wasn't
can
even
go on
fucking Geeks and
forever.
Gamers.
Look,
That was a fucking
these
Dave
are still
Cullen.
by him.
You didn't count before you
Going
made the
back
video.
as far
What's wrong with making videos though?
as
Who gives a shit?
when they announced Brie Larson was going to play
but he just-
Captain
I just
Marvel. Look
saw
at
him
this.
count a
Captain
Dave
Marvel
Cullen
reviews
video.
aren't great.
Of course, but
Like-
he doesn't.
Geeks and
We already know he's full of
Holy
shit.
shit, is this guy
Whoa,
just
dude, is this
trying
dude
to
obsessed?
milk that fucking content
Is-
out of Brie Larson?
Couldn't we do
Oh
something
my
similar
God,
where
we're
we're
still
like
going. Hey, look, we got a video from someone else, but boom, we're right on to another one.
Couldn't
Oh my God,
couldn't we have done the
communism,
same way? It's
communism,
like-
Marx.
And I think
Why
this
do
It's
you
is
keep
like
him,
writing
but
this
on
guy has
another
responded
channel?
to every this
Does he have-
many
is this like his second channel or something? I
right-wing
don't think it is.
YouTubers,
Maybe
blah
it is,
blah
I'm
blah.
not sure.
Look,
Like-
here's one. He's responded to 1, 2,
Thanos
3,
destroys
4,
Captain Marvel
10,
in GIF.
15.
Nobody likes Brie Larson. This was a video he
made
made.
a point yet?
Okay, so he went from 400 to about 35 or so.
So not exaggerating at all, but couldn't we say that this guy has made this many videos responding to who he claims to be right-wing YouTubers? Look, he's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 57, 36. Bingo.
That's the same argument I remember Joe Rogan made to who was it on his show about
Also,
Anita Sarkeesian.
just because someone,
Wait, what were you saying?
just because someone, oh, wait.
Sorry,
Just
I
because
wanna hear
a
the-
lot of
Sargon of a Cat. He was on Joe Rogan that one time, and Joe Rogan accused him of talking about Anita so much, and he's like, "Well, maybe I did like a month's worth." But we're talking about Sargon of a Cat when he was like pumping out videos like several a day for like 2 years, and it takes up like 2% or what was it 4% of all of his videos, which isn't much. It's probably the most consistent topic, but that's because Anita Sarkeesian back in the day was nuts, and she was doing all these crazy things with her YouTube channel. So
It's like sorry, keep going. Yeah.
so why wouldn't he cover that topic? I would have covered it, but I didn't really care because I thought it was stupid. It still is.
It was profitable at the time. It was
Yeah.
trending.
but- exactly.
It's like, but to say he's made 35 videos on Brie Larson is strictly an observation. It's not a criticism.
Well, what does this say about every single person ever on YouTube? Every news organization talks about Trump every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
What the hell? Like,
Why? Why do they do that?
oh my God, it's not like he's the most powerful person in the world, and then in the geek world, it's not like the MCU at the time was totally focused on finishing the entire giant movie series, an unprecedented cinematic event, the likes of which we've never seen in history. Even in the times of serials, we had never had such a majestic event. All the stars gathered together, blah, 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 blah. Why are you bullying Brie Larson? Well, why is Brie Larson the biggest bitch out of all of the people that are on stage consistently when talking about the fans and talking about something that is open for everybody? That should be the question this guy's asking. And then I say that, he watches this video and he goes, oh my God, this guy's such a misogynist. I'm like, it wouldn't matter if Brie Larson was a woman or a man. Any single person. Look at Freddie Prinze Jr., by the way. Remember when he was shitting on Star Wars fans? His clout level is so much lower than Brie Larson that he can just become bashed, smashed, and the left or whoever, they're not going to stand up for him. He's not a cute girl. You know, he's some guy that was goofy in a Scooby-Doo movie. The only standard they have is a double standard.
I actually covered him just because he was one of the voice actors for Mass Effect, and he had his own anime based off Mass Effect as well. So, yeah.
he also voiced Kanan in Rebels, which is why he has such notoriety among Star Wars fans.
Right. Well, that's what his
and-
rant was about, right? So, yeah.
And he should just be
Yes.
thankful and grateful and recognize that the symbiotic relationship that the audience and the people creating content have is essential. How many times have you heard any kind of actor or musician or whatever be like, if you weren't here, then I wouldn't be here, because literally all of my career and my money comes from you, plus the satisfaction I get for a job well done, plus all of my goals in my life that have to do with achieving some sort of technical brilliance, all has to do with the audience's response.
And they just
There's
happen
no-
to be lucky to be at the right place at the right time to get that gig.
Yeah.
And
Lightning
they know
strikes.
that, and they know that. It's like, yeah, I took advantage of it. Why not?
So let people do their thing. You got some good criticism, criticize them, but don't just be like this typical person that comes out here and goes like, It's-
Oh,
you
he's
know what it is?
obsessed. He's obsessed with this person. Like, no, he's not.
Exactly. To me, I'm thinking like he's an alcoholic. Look at how many bottles of alcohol he drank. He drank 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, I know how many. Why? Is it because? And then you find out the real information underneath
Right.
that is the psychological information that's required to get over the cycle. But meanwhile, this guy's still clicking, going like, "Wow, what an alcoholic!"
It's the
What an
same
alcoholic.
argument with ATHE chat. He doesn't have any substance to talk about the throne fight scene. So what he does, he just counts the cuts in the video. Oh
Yeah.
wow, there's 38 cuts. Like, and what's your point?
Honestly,
Sorry, go on.
well, I agree with the point. It's like if you're talking about the question should be more sort of if Brie Larson didn't do so many things that were worth talking about, he wouldn't have made so many videos on her.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the news. It's how news works. You talk about the stuff that you think is relevant to what you are producing, and if X source is still doing things that are noteworthy to discuss, then you're going to talk about them.
Yeah, I'm pretty much known as the BioWare guy who bashes them all the time, but it's because it's Canadian. I kind of love their games in the beginning, and they just had a downward spiral of quality, and you could see the cracks and then the breakings and the bridges just fall apart as you go across them. So it's kind of sad, and you're like, geez, we had this amazing Canadian industry. Thankfully, we still have Rockstar. And
Do you think you'd be... Sorry, do you think you'd be talking about a channel who was talking about Brie Larson 35 times in a positive light?
Of course not. Of course not. Because that's
But
just
you
the
know that
news
channel's out
every
there,
day.
right?
That's just tabloids.
But you know
The-
that channel is out there, right?
Oh yeah.
That is doing the reverse of what Geeks and Gamers is doing. It's like Brie Larson discussed how there should be more women in a higher position of power when it comes to movie criticism, and they're like, "This is a great thing." It's like, is it? It sounds like the smallest thing in the world to talk about in comparison to everything else to discuss going on in the world.
What I've noticed is that the archetype, what is happening here is that these people come in and they have their minds as an empty vessel, and the shape of the vessel has been built by somebody else. And so then when somebody else comes in and pours water into it, suddenly the vessel that this person has as their mind feels fulfilled. It's not about building their own understanding. It's not about constructing their own mindset and their own container and filling it with whatever they feel is important, whatever concoction they feel is personally developed by them. It's all about fulfilling a basic need of something. And which need is this person, Xanderhal, trying to get at? He wants to dunk on the conservatives. So he's just going to go out there and try and look for any single slight unexplained that he thinks is a given based on his own double standard ethics and morals or whatever. So I'm sure that he looks at the Brie Larson stuff and goes, wow, this is just proof that Geeks and Gamers is trying to get rid of women or whatever. It's not going to look at any of the nuance of it because he might be wrong about it.
Here's a super chat from Punished Berserker. Thank you, Mr. Producer. It's 25 equals 40. Ah, yeah, it's big brain time. It's kind of like Miller time, but with math.
And I think that the thing to also realize is that as much as we might like Geeks and Gamers to watch, he might be entertaining. I think we can all agree he is not an unbiased party.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. I love the bias arguments that people make all the time because people always assume what kind of you can make an obvious bias. You can present who you are as a person, and then people can figure out who you are based on your inherent bias and that kind of thing. But I always found it funny because I feel like I've grown up with with so many different forms of information that have evolved and changed over time, that my bias is that I'm unsure about things. So how do you reconcile with somebody that's coming up to you and genuinely is curious about whatever argument that is coming at you, wants to understand something, but also has some sort of knowledge already that if you interact with, that's what you'll get in response? Like, aren't people tired of being restricted by other people's preconceived notions about how things are supposed to be when we're all trying to figure things out? Aren't these people gatekeeping the pathway towards understanding what it is that's actually going on? Like, what kind of criticism is this of a person that you're not allowed to make this kind of video or not?
I don't know if that's what he's saying, but
well,
so
it seems
far,
like he's
so
trying
far
to
this is
shame
an
him.
yeah, but so far this screams just an observation to me, and it's down to whoever's listening to come to a conclusion as to whether this makes Geeks and Gamers out to look like a crazy person or just a guy who has a niche market for something.
Here's a super chat from Tyler Preston. Thank you, sir. If you want to see a YouTuber who's obsessed with Jeremy, check out Mad Max Mandalorian. He believes Jeremy and the Fandom Menace, hates woman, and all that other crap.
No, that's EFAP. You're getting yourself mistaken. It's EFAP that hates women.
And they're Nazis, and
people who can vote twice.
And they talk too much. Yeah, of course.
And they're long, and that's bad.
Yeah, long man bad for some reason. I don't know why that is a thing, but it is. Some of us like that long content. I don't know why. We just do. We like long discussions about stuff. It just happens to work out for some reason.
And here's the thing: if you find a video on YouTube is too long, they have this brilliant feature called the pause button, and you can break the video up into as many viewings as you want with the pause button. Because get this, if you hit the pause button, the video doesn't continue to play. You can go off and go take a shit or make a cup of tea and come back whenever you want. It's brilliant. It's been out since 2001 on YouTube. It's fantastic. You can literally decide how much you consume at once. I know I wouldn't sit down and watch an entire EFAP in one sitting, my God. But I would watch the thing start to finish before saying anything critical about it.
One thing I want to say is that just because Jeremy talks about, quantity doesn't equal like bad quality. It's just the fact that there is a lot. So maybe you can actually make some arguments about if it's, what's actually in the videos themselves, and not just say he's made a lot of videos, because just making a lot of videos doesn't say anything.
Also, when I tend to find the positive groups, there's lots of BioWare YouTubers out there, whether they like this or that game or franchise, and they say a lot of the same things over and over again, and it's kind of nauseating to listen to fanboys just wax poetically about the thing they love without bothering to critically think why they like that thing or what makes it good or what makes it not so good. It's always positive. It's always this. It's like, yeah, you can love your thing, but give me something that explains why. You can't just say, look how beautiful this is. Look how great this voice actor is. Like looking at the actual individual piece of artwork and explaining it why. They just say it's good. You're like, can you give me some insight? Are you an actor? Are you an artist? Are you a developer? Do you know what makes that thing good in your eyes? And I never get that from those groups. So I have to go to like people who are critical. And actually some of my fans, they started their own thing. I hated doing the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect. I hated that thing.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And someone else covered the whole thing in my style. I was like, dude, you went out of your way. You did a better job than I would have ever done. And they gave me reasons why it was good and bad. And it doesn't mean I'm going to go out and now spend some money just because of that. But it goes to show you that all it takes is a critical eye, a few weeks of planning and preparation to make a video or a video essay on a topic that you are passionate about, and you're not seeing it as like the perfect, most amazing thing in the world.
It's just like everything else. There's a format that once you figure out and have a general method of doing, you can do it too. And then once you get through that process, you can critically analyze yourself and improve your content. Now, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I think it's funny, like what Smud was saying, where the quest to improve yourself and to understand things requires actual analysis. And there are a lot of other people that have spent a considerable amount of time with a different configuration of the mind and the body than you have. So you can learn so much through that small amount of information and data that those people will give you because through that experience. And I think what you were saying is basically one of the reasons why I'm on YouTube is because there's so much disinformation, there's so much misinformation, there's so many hot takes that are based on conjecture and speculation that, you know, you have to step in there. So somebody has to step in there. Some of us all of us here have to step in here and do what we do, because I think there are just so many bad takes and there are so many things that are worth talking about that it's kind of alarming if we don't talk about it. How much worse would the world be if we didn't have all of these different reviewers and all the people that have been on this show and on EFAP and all of the Geeks and Gamers people that didn't make us think about something that was stupid, you know? How convenient, this is what I mean. How convenient is it for the cultural dialectic that Anna can get up anywhere and be logical, coherent, and cogent about stuff whenever some male feminist comes out and says that we're a bunch of angry men, and then we have a bunch of women that come out, or a bunch of whoever that come out, and they have the exact same logical principle foundation that we do with their own perspective. That's why our side is awesome, and their side is all just, it's like the same argument from the same people over and over again. I don't know.
This was a video he made. Thanos destroys Captain Marvel in GIF. Nobody likes Brie Larson, and it's 3 minutes long. And has 55,000 views. Holy shit, is the grift alive. Either way, though.
So he makes a funny video that's a GIF. That's for fun. And lots of people watched it, and he's amazed. It's like, okay, are you jealous? What's the problem here? Memes are bad? Like, what is the message? He's being creative. Oh my god, he's a horrible person.
He's making a 3-minute video about a funny GIF that he saw on his YouTube channel, and that's somehow bad because he can make money off of it. It's just jealousy. I mean, if Xander could do it, then he would do it in his way, but his audience doesn't give a shit. I think it's funny. I genuinely think it's funny that the people that do the best on YouTube are the people that have really good audience interaction and that are genuinely people that bring people together. And then you have people like the Young Turks, which were mentioned earlier, that require financing, require a giant set, and require huge funding for their for the main employees, to the point where I don't know if you heard about this, Smud, but TYT, they tried to unionize, and then Chang, who's all about pro-union, busted them on the union. So he became exactly what he hated. But they also take money from Qatar, and they do all that kind of stuff. And it's funny because I don't think that average YouTubers, like the Red Elephants guy or whatever, or just, some random people are getting any kind of backing like that. People that aren't paid, as much as I love to dunk on Tim Pool all the time, I don't think he's getting like Operation Mockingbird money or CNN money or Vice Media money or HBO money or whatever. There's such a drastic difference between people that are just out there passionately putting content out, which is what Jeremy is and what Geeks and Gamers are at the end of the day. They're just passionate nerds that are putting content out. Somehow that can translate into the same grift of like Jeremy Olstein or something trying to screw his audience out of money. That's not the way the Geeks and Gamers works. And I think it's also uncharitable because I'm fairly certain, and I don't really know much about it, that they've done a lot of charity work and a lot of like GoFundMe work for people around them in their community.
It's up on their Twitter, yeah. They do have a link to their charity, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not an unethical group of people. I don't think that they've ever been malicious people to anybody, except for someone like Brie Larson, who gets up, and I'm not saying that she asks for it, but she initiates the engagement that precedes that kind of response.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if I said the things that she said if I got a death threat or something from some anonymous person in my Twitter or something.
And there's nothing wrong with trying to, well, criticize anyone in Hollywood for saying something weird or silly. And
no, especially about races.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again, but it's way worse than Alinity throwing her cat. That's all I'm saying.
One thing I think is very strange is that when you come at Jeremy from Geeks Gamers, I'm totally open to say that maybe Jeremy is wrong in some manner, or maybe he said something that he's not correct about. But coming at Geeks and Gamers and just straight up saying they're sexist or racist is just blatantly untrue. And because obviously Jeremy from Geeks Gamers has obviously other female presenters, and he's also close friends with Anna, that Star Wars girl. So it's you come at these people based on their actual fucking argument and not like general things like character assassinations, which are just blatantly false.
This is irrelevant. The dude has like a massive hate boner for Brie Larson. This is not unusual. This is nothing new for when it comes to reactionaries. But
okay, so a reactionary is anyone who's not them that also does review videos. So I guess I'm a reactionary because we do that together. I don't know. What's a reactionary? Does anyone know? Bosch was trying to explain that. I was like, what is he talking about? People who just react to things? Is that all it is?
he has a particularly big hate boner for Star Wars. He's mostly centered around, like, a lot of his content is centered around being like a Star Wars.
Oh, why would
Fame.
a channel called Geeks and Gamers possibly focus on Star Wars? Let me think about that. Do we maybe need a moment to try and realize why a channel called Geeks and Gamers would possibly focus on Star Wars?
I mean, did he forget that fan is short for fanatic? So obviously somebody is going to have more radical intensity towards something. And he says fan in quotes. I just find that amazing because, you know, I'm a huge fan of someone like Thomas Jefferson, but that doesn't mean that I condone his owning of slaves. That's a bit hypocritical, even on just a logical level, regardless of however you want to couch that information. But that doesn't mean I don't think he was a quote-unquote fan of freedom. Do you understand what I'm saying attitude-wise here? Like, it's entirely derogatory without any admission that a fan could possibly hate what something has become. And I find that interesting because it's like, imagine somebody out here, I think, does everybody know who Austin Jones was, that YouTuber?
No.
Okay, well, so you have Austin Jones. He was this, like, a cappella singer YouTuber, and then he was busted for child pornography and enticement for 10 years. He was sentenced. Now, if somebody came out and said, oh, you're a quote-unquote fan of Austin Jones because you don't still like him, even though he did these heinous things. He did all this terrible stuff that put him in jail. But you're not a fan if you stop liking him. You know what I mean? If you look back and you go, you know what, I really liked that work then. But this person and what they did, I hate this. So what is it that's holding us to this standard where we should like something that is evil or disgusting or has changed to the point where it's unrecognizable? Why should we continue to like that? I can still like Star Wars retroactively, but I can still hate the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
It's very similar to people's reaction to political figures, that they are great in political life, but they're horrible in personal life. And we see that with your current president. I saw it in Toronto with Rob Ford back when he was mayor.
Yes.
Like I have favorite restaurants I used to go to that I've met on Twitter. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Sorry, you were talking, Smut. We always interrupt you because you're always saying good things.
Right. Her name is Jen Ang. She's a very famous chef, and she has like 3 or 4 restaurants in Toronto, and she's a flaming feminist. Like, she's crazy, And sometimes she would say stuff on Twitter, be like, Jen, are you really that crazy about wanting to murder a man just for walking into your restaurant? Like, I've walked into your restaurants. It's an awesome place. Why would you say that? And her restaurants are great. Her bars are great. But she blocked me on Twitter. I've never met her in real life. I don't want to meet her in real life. She scares the crap out of me. But I still want to go to a restaurant.
I still want to watch Kevin Spacey in movies because he's such a fantastic actor. But I don't want to look at Kevin Spacey because of what he's done and because of what I know about it. And like not even all the stuff that's come out. There's information that I have from all this Hollywood bullshit that I know. And it's like I can't go back and say I hate LA Confidential, but I'm not going to go forward and say hire this guy for a movie. You know, and then you have the argument about in the Ridley Scott movie All the Money in the World, they entirely recast him, probably to the movie's detriment. And it makes it so that we are really tested to see if we can stomach the contradictions that people are, but that's humanity. And the lesson that we're supposed to take from that is to mind ourselves. Like you can dislike. It'd be totally unreasonable to say JFK was a bad president because he cheated on his wife. That's not why he's a bad president. That's why he made some immoral decisions in his life. And there's a deeper philosophical and psychological reasoning behind that is known as the truth. There's obviously something interesting there. But people that are not interested in the truth, that are only interested in their point of view, like I'm sure Xander is, they want to just say like, oh, you know, I can't believe you support somebody that would like cheat on his wife. What a home-wrecking president. What a terrible person. And then somehow it's a way to morally negate all of the actions that this person took that were good.
Sorry, voice in the radio. Do you have something to say? I spoke over you.
Yeah.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, honestly. I was just going to use a different example, but you basically said everything I was going to say in the sense that people can be horrible individuals, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't recognize their talent in certain fields.
Well, thank you, sir.
Again, you can be a terrible person, but if you're a good cook, then it's just factual that you are a good cook.
Like I am.
It's like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yes.
Right.
I hate Roman Polanski as a person because of his thing, but I can't say that Rosemary's Baby isn't a good movie, and that's just the way that it is.
H.P. Lovecraft being a racist doesn't make his creative vision any worse.
Yeah, exactly. Stannis Baratheon. One good deed does not wipe out the bad, nor does one bad wipe away the good.
Here's a super chat from our producer again. I'm Commander Smud, and this is my favorite restaurant in the Citadel, huh? Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, Canadian, huh?
Smud as the commander of a Citadel is a very funny image.
A Citadel.
You better keep going.
It's just like some combination of Mass Effect with Babylon 5. It's like Commander Smud's Citadel.
I think space opera or Mass Effect as in a general rule, it was inspired by many shows and many other aspects of science fiction. So Babylon 5.
But I'm just saying, like, exactly. The imaginary world that you would exist in with all of your likes and all of your personality traits would be a highly humorous like space opera thing, and where you're like in charge of this station and you gotta wrangle us in. We're like the annoying inhabitants, like Deep Space Nine. Like I'm the Ferengi right there.
Oh yeah. See, I always love this story. People always say they wanted like a Garrus cop game from Mass Effect, like just to play a detective on some space station in the Mass Effect universe. That would have been awesome. Fun. That would have been simple and easy.
Yeah.
And fun.
The thing is, Mass Effect it's got such a rich universe that they could do anything with it. They could do like a kind of a fighter simulator game where you're in a fighter, or you could do a strategy game where you're directing ships in a space battle, or health. Like you could even do it with armies, similar to like you do something like Stellaris, or you could do something more along the lines of Empire at War.
I would say because of its gameplay and game design and detail and hard science fiction, it's probably more robust than Star Wars or KOTOR or other aspects, just because it's so. At least the first game, the second and third game sort of watered that down, though.
But the universe has so much depth, and the thing is, they always, when they were designing the locations, they were thinking, okay, so every single one of these locations has to be, have 1,000 stories to tell, so they can have so many side quests. But yeah, you could totally tell so many stories within the Mass Effect universe. It's just a shame that we haven't got any more.
It's EA's fault, as usual.
Always blame the producer.
And that
We
guy
should
that
probably
worked on
continue the
Andromeda
video.
was such a jerk. Anyway, yeah, let's keep.
We're an hour in and we've done roughly 4 minutes.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Just
Yeah.
just keep the ball rolling, maybe a little.
He's got to start making some points.
Fan, and he particularly loves the character of Ahsoka Tano. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a Star Wars fan, guys. I really am. Like, I know a lot about
What's wrong
Star
with?
Wars.
Okay,
Ask
wait,
Spooky in chat, who's also-
pause.
Now we're pausing it.
What's wrong with liking Ahsoka Tano?
Well, what he's
I
gonna
want to
do-
know.
What he's going to do is say, well, he likes Ahsoka Tano, but so do I. But, and he's going to tell us why.
But he's a
He's a
racist.
hypocrite because he doesn't like other women, but he likes this fictional character played by a woman.
I like it the right
also
way.
a
He's
woman.
liking it the wrong way. Here we go.
I'm
like
sure
Ahsoka.
there's something
Star Wars
absurd.
fan. I fucking love Star Wars, all right? I think the
Okay.
sequel trilogy is underwhelming. I'm not gonna
Okay.
like shit on it. I'm not gonna like overreact about it. But let's be real here. Sequel trilogy is a little underwhelming for a variety of reasons. It's not
Okay,
what
so
I
what's
get
your point?
out of it, okay? But I'm not like one of those reactionaries who just fucking riffs on it all day and
I'm not a reactionary here. I'm riffing
market.
on someone who's reactionary. Okay, we got you.
No, but it's just reactionary is another one of those derogatory to refer to people that you can't explicitly call them alt-right Nazis. You just go, oh, they're angry, they're reactionary. It's like everything that is in the breadtube wheelhouse is reactionary by definition because it's all based on something from the 1800s. It's based on a post-industrial revolution idea. It's based on taking pre-existing conditions in civilization and altering them. There's no, and as much as they want to say it, there's no such thing as actual primitivist communism that arises from the dirt. It's always allocating somebody else's resources and mechanistic abilities, the means of production, and assigning them to a new group. So obviously, to all the people out there that are breadtube leftists, you're the reactionaries. We're on the side of the people that build the foundations that you're stealing from. You're the ones that are reacting to the conditions environment and saying it's dissatisfactory, as opposed to appreciating why things are the way that they are.
Here's a super chat from Punished Berserker. Thank you, sir. Sequels are underwhelming, like the sun is warm.
It's the understatement of the century.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
with
good
that.
one.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we share the same opinion, Xanderhal and myself, about the prequels. They're not great, but there's not much to talk about shitting on them because we already know it's bad about them. It's pretty obvious. There's not much depth to describe, so we don't have to. It's obvious.
It's well known at this point.
Yeah, we don't need an in-depth plot analysis of why Anakin
I
has
hope he's going.
poor
Well,
motivation.
I think it's probably worth going back to reanalyze the prequels because I'd be more than happy to admit that they may be better than like what a lot of people initially thought. But I think even by the end, coming to another conclusion, it's not going to be the most fantastic, amazing game ever.
Just
movies,
because the sequels are worse does not mean the prequels don't suck.
Yes.
Because I love them, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that I like The Hobbit, but I know The Hobbit is bad, especially when in comparison to The Lord of the Rings. But
I think I very much love.
I'm wondering how he's going to bring this back around to Ahsoka Tano for some reason, because it's an interesting
I
one.
very much love the prequels, but I love them more for nostalgia purposes and the how do I put it? The potential that they had and what they could have been, and I more love the time period of the Clone Wars because obviously the TV show has given it so much more depth.
I think that's the thing I like most about the prequels when in comparison to the sequels and even the original trilogy. They make the universe seem large,
Mm-hmm.
which and like the sequels are especially are very condensed.
Yes.
This is like SJW Mary Sue propaganda, but that is what our boy
SJW Mary Super. What is that? It's a trope. It's propaganda. Okay. It's like saying Deus Ex propaganda. It's like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing.
But what's this got to do with Ahsoka Tano? I'm confused.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Yeah, with Jeremy liking Ahsoka Tano.
He likes this one woman.
Geeks and Gamers likes to do. Ironically enough, his name is Jeremy too, just like Quartering.
How is that ironic?
Anger Juice,
not
thank you
irony.
for $5, says, I know you've moved past it, but I couldn't comment earlier, but I think you have a lot of potential. Keep going, dude. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Anger Juice. The $5 is very much appreciated, and I do hope to move forward. It's going to be a good time. Yeah, so he makes a lot of content around Star Wars, or at least he used to. He still makes some, but he claims he doesn't care about Star Wars anymore because the SJWs have supposedly ruined
Yeah,
it.
you see, that's the kind of thing I wish Jeremy would sort of reword or put in a different way, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what paints him negatively.
I
And
agree with that. I don't
the
think that
very
there's
blatant-
anything. I don't think that there's anything unfactual about that. If somebody wants to make an argument against that logically, be my guest.
I
The
think
blatant
Sorry,
I'll
go
let you
for
go
it.
first. I'll let you go first.
All I was going to say is that he might very well believe that, and that is within his right to believe that. But I would not make that an announcement for why you hate it without giving some further context as to why. And maybe try and branch out from your own political ideology if you're going to stand by that. Because again, if you don't want to have this negative depiction of you by the other side, it's probably best to try and come across, I suppose, a bit more middle of the road.
Yes. The blatant overreactions really don't help Jeremy's image either.
But isn't that true though? Isn't it true that SJWs have ruined Star Wars with all their nonsense? What else could you call
I
it?
think there's
You're gonna have to dig too deep. You're gonna have to dig deeper into that, because that is essentially a conclusion that you need to provide a very in-depth
Mhm.
look into.
There's
but
definitely an argument to be made, but I feel like the more important thing to talk about is
It's also the
about
label
the films themselves. Yes, the
It's
label is
the label of SJWs as well. You'd have to come to the conclusion that XYZ who have ruined XYZ are SJWs for XYZ.
Yeah, but
reasons.
they fit
And
all the standards. It's just a standard set that you fit. It's intersectional feminism. It's
Yeah, but it's
blatant
it's in a-
misandry. It's about hiring practices that have to do with preferential.
Yeah, but
However,
it's an erroneous statement that paints a target on your back.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's
As soon
what
as
I've
some
said
people hear that, no, but as soon as some people hear that, they're going to immediately jump to a conclusion about Jeremy, and
So,
it
well,
makes
I don't
it very
like this
easy.
guy.
Yeah, it makes it very easy for people to say, "Well, look, Jeremy's a bad person because he screams SJW from the top of the roof," and they can just use that as ammunition. And I think
Good.
really,
But see,
it
here's the
doesn't
thing is, like,
matter about the political politics behind why something is ruined. It's more important to say how it has been ruined and make a proper argument rather than jumping to the conclusion, or at least not showing it or working out.
Xanderhal is the perfect example. How many of these videos do you think he has watched, and how many of these videos do you think he's basing his opinion on Geeks and Gamers based solely on the memes that are quoted from him and the titles of his videos?
Mm-hmm.
I've been around this thing too long to know any better. That's the conclusion that you can make. It's people that are interested in these intersectional ideals more than the content, and they're
I'm
in
not
a position of
disagreeing.
power. And so if somebody wants to come up here and like Jeremy, like I've said before, a boisterous guy that bull rushes head first into something, I support that. Now, if people want to shoot at him with the ammunition that he gives them by going like, it's these SJWs, they're ruining everything, then you know what? Go ahead and hit him with that. Because eventually saying that isn't going to do anything, because it's true.
But you haven't proved anything either.
Yeah, but we
Neither
haven't
side
even
has
gone
proved
into the
anything.
fact that Jeremy does talk about those things in his videos. I could
Yes.
prove it right now, but it's irrelevant really to our conversation.
No. Imagine I created a video where I said Lord of the Rings is garbage, and here's why. How many people do you think are going to hit the dislike button on that video without even watching the content?
Yeah, but not me. I would watch it.
Yeah, but
That's why I say
you cannot speak for
what I say.
everyone.
Yeah,
No, but
you
I'm
cannot
speaking
speak for
for
everyone.
I'm speaking for what I consider to be the truth. If you want to take it and disagree with it, do it. But what I said before was explain how Jeremy is logically wrong, not his optics. Don't tell me his optics are bad, because I don't care about that. What I care about is the overall argument. Tell me how SJWs have not ruined Star Wars when all the people that are involved in it have SJW personalities and present those politics as if those things are a good thing. Like how JJ was saying, if I could cast it, I'd cast it all Asians as like a joke.
The point is you got to boil it down to it is not their flaws as a writer. It is solely their politics that has jeopardized the product.
But you have to
you have to make that distinction. That they have made this thing bad because of their politics. It's not they have made this thing bad because they have wrote it poorly.
But I would say that they would choose
let
the
me talk,
actual...
please. Let me talk. So it's not. I don't disagree that people who are behind Star Wars right now and have fired it into the ground have a certain political slant. However, you've got to imagine this from the real power. The people power is basically people who are in the normal streams and who won't have the same knowledge and understanding of social justice to the extent of a lot of people like us or Jeremy. So when normal people come across one of these videos that people are using, let's say normal person who doesn't understand it comes across a video by this guy, and all they know about Jeremy is that he says this, that, and the other. He needs to be able to make it so he can't have this ammunition against when normal people come across these videos, because they have to be because they won't have the same understanding as a lot of other people, and he needs to appeal to the more mainstream.
Why does he have to do that?
Because that's where the real power of the population is.
But why do you think that that's his goal?
Because everyday people aren't going to have the understanding of what modern day social justice is, or what modern day feminism is, or this, that, and the other.
But do you think this argument applies to Sargon of Akkad, that he should appeal to normies more? No,
not appealing to normies, not appealing to normies. However, making sure that if a quotation marks normie comes across one of these videos, they don't have the ammunition to easily just paint this person because of the language they're using or how they are saying something. It's very much not what they're saying, it's how they are saying it that can be misconstrued. And you need to make sure what you are saying is not misconstrued by any means. Because the moment you give that person the ammunition, you've made 100 more enemies or 1,000 more enemies, depending on who's using this ammunition against you.
I disagree inherently. I think anybody misconstrue my words based on somebody else's slander is already my enemy, and I don't want them. I want people that are curious. I want to find out the truth themselves. People that don't like me, that want to hit me for certain things that I say that are inherent to my personality or inherent to the way that Jeremy or whatever does things. If they're not criticisms based on ethics or civics, they're all based on optics and propaganda, it's irrelevant to me. But I think we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the video.
But most recently, he made a video about Star Wars Season 7, which is sort of a continuation of Star Wars, because sadly, Star Wars
Clone Wars Season 7, idiot.
Canceled after Season 6.
Yes, because of Disney.
But it returned.
It wasn't even a full Season 6, it was half a season.
They're basically finalizing the story of Star Wars The Clone Wars to sort of lead it into Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which is awesome. But our boy here is really, really upset about SJW characters in the Clone Wars.
She made over 100 or 150 plus videos were made of Brie Larson and is now against Dave Filoni for the SJW things in the Clone Wars. pathetic guy.
True, Larry Banks. Thank you for the $5. We're actually about to get into
Hello,
that right
I'm
now.
back. I went for a wee.
This video is from 3 days ago. It's doing quite good. 60,000
We
views.
didn't need
That's
to know that
pretty
information.
fucking poggers.
You're
I've
welcome.
offended the Star Wars hair community. Dave Filoni has been compromised. Dave Filoni's been compromised by the SJWs.
This guy sounds like Destiny.
Let's go ahead and start it up. I actually want to say... Gotta get the
What's
earring.
up, Geeks and Gamers? It's Jared.
That intro will never not make me cringe. I do have to admit, though, let's be real here. His fucking setup is pretty.
It is pretty good.
Clean. Let's be
I like that
completely
intro.
honest here. That setup is pretty fucking clean. I don't like Geeks or
Coming at you with
Gamers.
another
I don't like this dude, but that is a
today.
nice setup. I turned it down, Chad. I turned it down. Relax. Show your tits. That is a very.
I'd have it
clean
like
setup.
I could have
He
weeks
doesn't
of
look
fun
clean,
in that
though.
room.
Yeah, that's true. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
So
got
something he
Titanfall
used to
playing.
have that I guess he doesn't
My
have anymore,
man.
but I remember he used to have this in his old content. He used to have like an Ahsoka Tano plushie on his microphone stand, on his boom arm, and it's because he would like always talk about how Ahsoka is like a good
Yeah, she's well written
female character,
for the most part.
as opposed to like Rey, who's like
Yeah,
a
she's
Mary
not
Sue.
well written for
But
the most
holy
part.
shit, there is a fucking I didn't even know this until I watched this channel the other day. I think his name is Greasley's Tavern.
Okay, tangent.
No, I think it's Hello
AT
Greedo.
chat.
I think his
Hello.
channel's name is. Yeah. Hello Greedo. He made a video. Oh, he went on the EFAP
no.
podcast.
Yeah,
Fucking
boy.
cringe.
Oh, of course, he
It
doesn't
was
like
a video
EFAP.
about what people thought. Yeah, right here. It's from 4
Really
months ago.
good
It's a really
Yes.
good video.
Okay.
That basically disproves every.
Okay, so that video is a piece of shit. It is so fucking cherry
It's really
picked.
bad. So I think the first thing to get out of the way is that, admittedly, not many people like the Ahsoka's character to begin with, especially from the movie. But then again, the movie overall was a bit of garbage.
Yes.
However, it's one of those things where it's a new writing team, it's a new animation team, and they improve the quality as they go. She, especially by comparison to the likes of Rey, is actually a well-written character. Especially when you compare the parallels of being both a Jedi and a female on top of that. Not to say that's a factor that sort of goes into it. Rey would still be terrible if she was a male character. But Ahsoka, by comparison, is actually decently well written. Not to say that she doesn't have flaws. She does. Season 7 so far, she's had quite a few flaws. But by comparison, there's a lot more to like about her.
Well,
She has a personality.
I
She has a cause and agencies and all that.
I think looking at a still life painting is more interesting than looking at Rey. So it's kind of hard to to compare a Mary Sue to anything and say, well, this is better because they talk and have personality and have desires and have faults and failings. So it's like, wow, everything a Mary Sue hasn't come close to. So
And
Even then, going back to the video, so the Hello Greedo video itself is very much like the people didn't like Ahsoka in the beginning, but that's fine. However, it's kind of he's trying to rewrite history a little bit with specifically picked comments on reviews. And this isn't the general consensus. No, the general consensus of Ahsoka Tano really wasn't that she was a Mary Sue. In fact, the term hadn't even been that popular by, was it like 2009, 2008 when the movie came out? And it was only a lot later, especially when it became popularized when The Force Awakens came out with Rey. So, as I was saying, it's kind of reminding me of when Ryan Johnson tried to say that, when Empire Strikes Back came out, nobody liked it. When, it's just trying to rewrite history and it's blatantly untrue.
I
Every
actually
single
thought she was a
one
good addition.
of Geeks and Gamers shitty talking points about Ahsoka being like a better character than
that.
Rey, out of the water. It's what people thought of Ahsoka.
But this has
and the
nothing to
Clone-
do with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers.
Not to
trying to
mention, it
compare
says
it to,
when the
like-
Clone Wars first came out. That's
Yes.
to say that she hasn't progressed as a character in the last 10 years.
Well, Hello Greedo is trying to make comparisons between her and Rey. Like, say, well, people don't like Ahsoka when she first came out, and just like how people don't like Rey when she first came out. The problem is people still don't like Rey because she's a piece
Yeah,
of shit.
people still don't like her.
Wars when it first came out.
It's like
And
the video we covered before. It's like, hey, you can't do that.
You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that.
They both suck. Screw you.
Mm-hmm.
Great argument when you have emotional appeals. It's like, yeah, that doesn't help.
basically goes back into a bunch of like videos or a bunch of like posts on different Star Wars fan forums from back in 2009 and 2010 to when the Clone Wars first came out, and talks about how what people thought about Ahsoka back in the day, and it was all basically the same shit that they say about
I'm fine with
Rey.
that.
I mean,
No,
if you
I'm
look
fine
at
with
the
that.
image here,
I'm fine with that.
Can we just look at the
Sure.
at the thumbnail?
No, but
here?
it's a misrepresentation.
No, but I don't even care. If anybody thinks that any of these newer Star Wars characters are over the top,
I wish we
chosen
could
one
see
Mary
the
Sue's ever
thumbnail.
since Luke
Like, if we go
Skywalker, I'm
through-
fine with that.
if you
That's a
watch this
valid
video, you can
opinion.
see all
He
these
still
posts
hasn't
on
made a
these
point.
different, like,
So what?
on these different like forums that are all calling Ahsoka a Mary Sue and like a
What if
shitty
I think
character.
they are? So what?
Another character who has the power
Fight
of the
me,
plot
bro.
behind her is Ahsoka Tano. As a mere Padawan, a young one at that, she's gone one-on-one with the two most prolific Jedi killers of the era. Not only has she faced them single-handedly, she's held her own, even emerging with all her parts intact. For comparison, here's a shot of Ventress owning two.
Didn't like specifically thinking about certain arcs. I think Ahsoka didn't even end up winning those battles. She just managed to hold her own just enough to either retreat or to either like
Rey,
just
Rey
get
for
out there. At some point.
comparison, the comparison would be Ahsoka showing up in the Clone Wars and then beating Count Dooku the first time they ever fought, and that would be the same as Rey showing up in the film and beating Kylo Ren the first time they fought.
So Smudge, you remember watching the Clone Wars movie? As soon as Ventress kind of storms through the door, like she almost instantly knocks down Ahsoka. Like, oh, it's pure Padawan. Imagine if that was Rey. Like, if Rey would just come in, she would just bitch slap Ventress, and Ventress would go crying home to her mother.
Right. I mean, Ventress was kind of the villain of the show, so she would always end up losing anyway. So, yeah, Rey would probably die.
I was going to say that the fact that she doesn't die to Grievous is not because she's good. It's more that Grievous in that show is crap.
I don't care if she wins or loses or whatever. I just want an actual. Why it's wrong to say one is worse than the other. There's no actual argument here. You guys have made more about how she's not.
But
And
the argument is trying to level the playing field to try and make them more comparable. So when the conclusion comes in, it's based on a false information. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it will be an inaccurate conclusion, essentially, because they've changed the playing field of what the discussion is.
Yeah, he's very much trying to change history, nitpicking specific comments from forums and criticisms when it's not even the general opinion. It's just what someone has, said.
It would be like me saying my Ford Fiesta is faster than a Ferrari, therefore it is better. But I have not proven XYZ to be true, and then came to a conclusion that would not be true, but it would be correct based on the lie I have told.
So typical.
Masters in a night. So basically, you could replace Ahsoka with Rey, and just replace the characters in the topic with Rey, and it's basically your average like reactionary complaining about the like Rey being a Mary Sue.
Good lord. Jeez. Yeah, just replace Ahsoka with Rey. Totally interchangeable. Exactly.
I would improve the
These characters
story.
are not interchangeable at all.
Ahsoka would be a much better protagonist for the sequel trilogy by far.
Yes.
I'd watch it.
I would
be
honestly
more
want it.
forgiving because, of course, she'd have had 30 years of Jedi training for The Force Awakens.
Scratch that. Let's just say that it's Ahsoka from the beginning.
she
You'd
would-
have a much more interesting path, a character that actually has a personality, that emotes, that has a
Can we-
desire to improve herself. It'd be great.
Can we agree the Clone Wars is better than the sequel trilogy?
100%. It's not even a comparison.
Yeah, it's
I'm not even
it's
a
like
fan of
way
it.
out of the park.
I
I don't even like the
Clone
Clone Wars that
Yeah.
much.
Hell,
I like
I like
the Tartakovsky series. I like
Yeah, I like that. I like that slightly worse. I will be honest, but as flawed as I think the animated version, the 3D animated version of the Clone Wars is, outside of the original trilogy, I think it's the best in terms of cinematic that we've got.
pick literally any Star Wars content from
Knights of the Old
1977
Republic.
to 2008.
13 to 14. No,
I'm just going to
Two-
say 8 to be conservative,
Huh.
and I'm going to say that you can make a sequel trilogy out of any of those concepts. Any of them. Dark Empire would have been more interesting. I don't even like it. Any of this stuff that I don't like, the Yuzun Vong, still would have been better. But we have
Yuzun
to
Vong
have
is super
arguments
dumb,
about
but yeah,
whether
I
or
love
not
that.
Rey is a Mary Sue, because again, we haven't even established in general that a Mary Sue is ultimately a terrible thing. You can write a good Mary Sue story, but they didn't. So there's no defending it. Quality is quality.
Wasn't on that EPAP as they hate him.
Oh, okay.
They don't
I thought he
hate
appeared
him.
On it. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, they would probably hate him because he's not a fucking idiot. That's nice.
Y-
I'm glad.
you'd
Thank you
have
for
to
the $2, Larry Banks.
show me
But
where
yeah, this awesome
Amola
video
has
by
ever said
Hello
that he
Greedo, who you
hates
should
Hello
fucking
Greedo.
sub to because he's one of the best Star Wars
This is a
YouTubers.
false dichotomy.
He basically went over how people talked about Ahsoka the same way they talk about Rey now back in like 2009, and I think that's pretty funny considering that
This is an
Geeks and
hour-long
Gamers
video,
like
but I'm
to
not
say
going to
that,
show
like,
you the evidence.
okay, but the thing is, these are arguments by different people. Okay, yeah, I admit that someone out there has made this argument, but this is not what Jeremy has said. I'm not even sure Jeremy has ever even said Ahsoka Tano was a Mary Sue. So, what is your point?
I think that Jeremy wouldn't disagree with that claim.
I don't think that he would like her as much if she were a Mary Sue. I think that that's kind of the point. And I think that a lot of people like Ahsoka Tano because ultimately
She worked hard.
Not just that. It's not really just that. It's like when my my generation is the generation that was in the exact same age range that the Harry Potter kids were growing up. So there's a direct connection. It's like every time that he would be in a story in a book, I would get the book at the next grade level. We were at the exact same grade level, so I was having a unique experience. Ahsoka Tano applies to Star Wars fans of that Clone Wars generation. Getting introduced to all of the Star Wars content at that point in time it turns out to be a very blessed time to be a Star Wars fan. Just like if you were a kid in the early 90s when the N64 was getting popular and you had all these video games and all this comic book content from the EU that you could read. Or if you got into it in the 70s and the mid 80s when it was still popular at the time of when it first came out. It's nowadays that Star Wars fans, if you come into it, you have just a complete lack of content. There's a lack of good comic books. There's a lack of good video games. People don't even give a shit about the board games or the tabletop. There's no MMO you can play really anymore. It's kind of fallen apart. Like it's a cultural significant thing that happens in a timeline when you become a fan and you become associated with certain things. Ahsoka Tano is a great marker for that era of what people attached themselves to. Whether or not you think it's a good character or a Mary Sue, she's an effective Star Wars character. Undeniable. So I don't understand how you can make any point about people liking Ahsoka Tano, more or less, and criticize them for getting on board at that time period. You know what I mean? What is wrong with people of any stripe liking this character? Or disliking this character for ulterior reasons? Just what's the argument?
And we're still waiting on that.
I'm sorry if I'm being like overly verbose. I feel so empty when I'm listening to this guy. It's like listening to Destiny on easy mode.
Yeah, it's like he's been 10 minutes talking and he hasn't said one cogent point yet, so...
Ahsoka is an example of a real female character who isn't a Mary Sue, but apparently now she is because Dave Filoni is in charge of her.
Dave Filoni was always in charge of Ahsoka, and I don't think Geeks and Gamers is even calling Ahsoka SJW by any means in the Clone Wars season. I think what he has probably a problem with is the fucking Maz sisters, or not the Maz sisters, what the fuck they're called, the two retarded sisters. I'd just call them that. That's what he, and I'm suspecting that he and a lot of other people have a problem with, the people with the stupid haircuts.
Whatever. Let's watch the video. Let's get into it. Prepare to cringe.
Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we are going to talk about the Clone Wars Season 7 and why I have not watched it since the Bad Batch arc ended. Now that might come as a surprise to some of you because why? Because I am a mega fan of the Clone Wars. Ahsoka is my favorite character. I love everything that they did in the Clone Wars. I was happy with what they did with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and obviously Ahsoka's entire arc I thought was great.
His argument here, I guarantee, is literally just gonna be, I love Star Wars: The Clone Wars, but the SJWs have gotten to it.
Oh,
Dave
shut the
Filoni
fuck
is
up, man. Let him actually
compromised by the
fucking talk.
SJW propaganda.
This
So
isn't
even
even
though
an argument
I
right
apparently
now.
love Ahsoka and I'm apparently a Star Wars fan, I'm not gonna watch it because the SJWs
This is not an
are
argument.
ruining it. Because look at these characters.
SJW, yeah, but so?
Let's
got
get
to see
into it.
the Anakin that a lot of people didn't get to see in the prequels. You know, while
Yeah.
I like the prequels, I love the prequels, there are problems with Anakin that I will definitely admit, especially in Episode 2. But the Anakin we get in the Clone Wars...
What's the pause? What are we going for?
Hold on.
He's not wrong.
Anakin, the entirety of Revenge of the Sith.
This is going to be a point, is it? A meme?
Anakin in the entirety of Revenge of the Sith is basically like a teenager going down the alt-right rabbit hole.
What?
Fuck, where's the meme?
But he's not
There's a
even
meme
talking
where it's
about
like
in episode fucking
where it's
3.
like Obi-Wan
He's
responding to Anakin and say, "What the
he's talking about the Clone Wars, you fucking bellend. The hell are you on about?
He literally just
not-
said that Anakin in the films is flawed with problems. I don't
What
know
the
what this
fuck
point
is
is.
he
This
on?
is supporting him. I have no idea.
Everything Jeremy has said, none of it was wrong. It was. So what the fuck is he on?
Jeremy
It's like,
did nothing
oh
wrong.
well, Anakin's turned to the alt right. It's like what the? I don't even think Anakin's turned to the alt right. He's just turning to the dark. What the fuck?
He's turned to the
dark side's
alt-right
the
side.
alt-right?
The
What the
dark
fuck?
side is the alt-right side.
Oh
Oh,
god.
it's all just because the SJW Jedi.
Can we appreciate that Xanderhal got his 2 and 3 confused?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a Star Wars boyo.
No, I mean he literally confused the number 2 for the number 3. Jeremy said, especially in episode 2, he's looking for episode 3 for a point, I guess. How does he even know that we don't disagree that Anakin is terrible in the films?
Dude.
Because he is.
He is. I don't even know what the fuck he's on because he's just going on about something else.
I have no idea.
He needs to eat some more bread.
the
That'll
fuck are
sort
you
him out.
talking about, Anakin?" In response to Anakin saying that's based. And Anakin's like, you know, like owning the libtards.
What?
I don't know. I fucking love
Okay,
that meme.
that-
I couldn't find it on
Well,
Google.
Anakin
is a
It's
dictator.
a pretty good fucking meme.
That
Wars definitely
Okay.
helps to flesh out that character, and it shows
Yes.
us that great Jedi, that great pilot, that great leader
Yep.
that we all heard about, that great Anakin
Yeah.
Skywalker that we always wanted to see.
Yeah.
And plus, the
Yeah.
Clone Wars just makes the entire galaxy
Yep.
bigger. It expands the entire
I
galaxy.
mean, I agree
Why
with
you
all
po-
of this.
yeah.
I mean, the Clone Wars is pretty fucking good.
But
so what's
Hey,
your
Jeremy,
problem?
A likable character.
The fuck is your
which I
problem
feel like
then?
The prequels did a particularly good job at doing. Anakin in the Clone Wars is a Republican cop. Yeah, but he's like an actual
What?
character, right? He
He
actually
has
has
wants
like,
and needs and...
like I like him.
He's a
Like,
Republican
I feel
cop.
like,
He
especially
hates
when
cops.
He goes a little bit
That's
dark
another
side
leftist
and
trope.
does some crazy shit.
Like
when he
but
shows
he's
up
not
to
even a
Geonosis
cop.
in
He's a
general,
fucking general.
And, like, fuck, what was her name?
Don't
She
worry
was, like,
about it,
some
man.
fucking
Don't worry
ex-Jedi
about it.
that defected from the Order.
Don't get mad.
And Anakin,
He doesn't know what he's talking
fucking slammed
about.
her into a tree. Yeah, when he does shit like that, it's pretty cool. I like that. We didn't really get to see a lot of that until Revenge of the Sith when he went like full evil.
That prequel era, it makes it feel so much bigger
Yes.
and grand, and it populates
So he agrees
it,
with him
and
so
it takes
far.
us to different worlds and shows us different species. It is truly amazing.
Wait, I think someone found the meme.
Yes,
Wait,
this-
Breadmaster,
this
So
is-
we
is
don't
this the
care
music
about
behind
the
it?
care about the fucking argument.
I love this meme so
It's
much.
not funny.
Well, I need to shrink my webcam for this, so you guys can see it. Based? Anakin, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's great.
I don't know why.
Not even funny.
But this meme is so fucking good. I
have
love it
no idea
so
This
what
much.
dude
it
is
means,
like
but,
serious issues.
Yeah, the entirety
He
of
has
Rise of the
the-
Sith. It's just he's
I've
just
seen
guy nature
Google
falling
memes.
down.
I
the
do
hill
like
right
I do
now.
like that though. It's like
That's all it is.
Anakin, Chancellor
I love it.
Palpatine is evil, and he goes,
And
"Not
I
from
love
my
it. So
perspective."
when the announcement
like,
You
wow.
pause it?
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
So wow,
This
you
guy
went to-
has the personality and mannerisms of like one of those like Mean Girls high school chicks
God, it was,
snarking in the background.
it was
like-
even the old school meme font as well. You can tell that's how out of date he is with memes.
I'm like, I don't know. It's just, you know what? You know the phrase like "I can't even" or whatever. People are like, "Oh my god, I just can't even. I just can't even right now." Like someone's brain shorts out and they can't logic anymore, and it's like they're trying to insinuate that what you're saying or what is going on is so ridiculous that they don't even need to comment on it or say anything about it. It's like a self-defense mechanism, and this guy just keeps using that same self-defense mechanism over and over again. Like, imagine if someone actually forced him to make an argument instead of just be like, "I just love this. Just look at this meme."
Well, the funny thing is, he hasn't disagreed with anything Jeremy has said. So, what is he getting emotional about? I don't know.
Let's find
idea.
out.
happened, I was obviously excited about it. And watching the Bad Batch, which, you know, was something that was previously created, I was
Isn't
loving
ironic
that.
that
But
these
the more
fandom menace guys hate new Star Wars, but can't stop talking about it and move on?
Oh.
Also, Filoni had the same politics
Oh,
as
no.
Lucas.
Yeah, I think Lucas is probably like George
Oh,
Lucas is
no.
probably like a pretty progressive person. Most people who create art are pretty progressive.
Oh no!
Reactionaries
What
and
the
fascists
fuck?
are incapable of creating.
It's just like Quentin when he's like, I heard Quentin, he's like, I don't really care about da-da-da. What I care about is music, and the communists own music. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? Like, music, I love that they can just create a partisan thing out of a universal thing. It's like saying language is some sort of like social construct from the West. Like, what do you mean written language? Like, everybody has written language. Everybody has music. Everybody has dance. Everybody has opinions and perspectives.
No,
Learn
you,
them.
you don't
Art has
understand.
nothing-
You don't
Art
understand.
has nothing
only,
to do with fucking, politics.
Only
Literally
left-leaning,
nothing.
only left-leaning liberals can be creative when it comes to art and literature. You don't understand. It's just facts, okay? If you lean right, conservative-wise, you have no chance of being creative in any sense of the word.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
sorry. Sorry.
Glib,
go
you're
ahead.
fucked.
You just have to tear apart whatever you watch, okay? Only the left make good content, okay? Only the left make content, period.
I'm sorry that to everybody's disappointment that such a great show like Firefly by a leftist like Joss Whedon who hangs out with Anita Sarkeesian could be made with someone like Adam Baldwin who's a diehard conservative, and they can actually make a great show together because turns out the show and the objective that everybody's working together on is more important. Kind of like how in general all the politics and nationalism and all that shit falls by the wayside when it comes to things like nuclear war and radiation and any kind of
And
issue that's going to be in pandemics. Yeah, nobody really gives a shit when they're going to get injured or sick or they're going to die of something. That's when everybody wants the same protections. Everybody wants the same rights to stop the same injustices happening from everybody. Can we stop trying to paint like sides? Like this is
You
a game
think
of
he
graffiti
likes-
and Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like, oh, the leftist owns art now. I did a kickflip on this. Like,
Do you think
it's
he
not a
likes
game of
Joker?
tag.
Do you think he thinks Joker is a good film created by left-leaning political ideologies?
I'm
Or
sure.
do you think he hates it like everyone else because it paints people negatively and makes you sympathize with a white man?
Well, it's funny to me because my favorite television show, I think, is Mr. Robot. And Mr. Robot is done by Sam Esmail. And I can't really figure out what his politics are, but it's kind of vaguely leftist, maybe. But really, the show is Kubrickian in that it's not taking a stance. There's something more scary, there's something more impacting, and there's something more depthful about presenting a story that doesn't really shade in any particular direction. A story where, like Game of Thrones, where any character can get killed regardless of the morals or ethics of the situation, where bad things can happen at any time, or like Sopranos, where people can get sick. Things that you don't see in a lot of art. The realism of the scenario, the actuality of the scenario is much more interesting than trying to paint your propaganda film to have this kind of feminist protagonist and this amount of this people of this race and this religion, and it ends up all making everything into this mush.
It's almost like you can be creative without politics infesting your creation. In fact, I'd argue it's probably better to go in with a creative mindset that is not biased by your own political ideology or whatever you believe or whatever the director believes, because it actually stifles creativity.
I'm going to have to go now, so I'll see you a lot later. I don't know if I'll be back on.
All right, see you later.
See you, Johnny.
Right, see ya.
Do we know like what George's actual politics are, who he votes for? No, it doesn't matter.
No,
because
I don't
the
care.
ethics we can associate with. We
I
understand
don't care.
the deeper...
He still created a good trilogy.
Exactly.
And then a meh trilogy. And then he sold it for $75 million, and he's the luckiest fucker in the world.
And more power to everybody that enjoyed it and was part of creating it, because we like it.
No, CWD. Xanderhal probably never watched the EFAP. Okay, he's probably he's probably going off representation by his own party alone.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just go to his video and read some of the comments. They're pretty biased. So,
Xanderhal, come on, EFAP.
Come on, EFAT.
EFAT.
Is that what we are?
Smudcast. Yeah, every frame a tangent.
Yes. Perfect.
Art. They just appropriate it. That's why I always like to point to that one, like, not...
Okay, so people who are not leftists
tangents.
appropriate
You were
everything?
sorry, you calling us tangent, by the way, Smud Boy. Glib, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm the tangent master.
Perfect. I am going to have to go grab some pizza, but I will not leave the call. I'll be 10, 15 minutes.
That is a noble cause. Go for it.
Yeah.
No worries.
We'll
Goodbye.
hold down for it.
I'll be back soon.
So everyone who's not a leftist appropriates culture? That's
yeah. It's funny because, like I was saying earlier in my little reaction, it's funny that people that are all about taking the means of production and seizing things, especially probably intellectual property at this point in time, are telling us that we're the ones that are appropriating things from other people, as opposed to what they would say would be positive representation. Let's say that I actually did want to show off Native American culture or something in the early 1800s, and I made a movie that was from their perspective, defending themselves, defending themselves tragically as the noble warrior heroes and that kind of thing.
It's a strange thing to say.
But let's say that I did that. Would that be appropriating Native American culture, or would that be positive representation of it, even if it's within their boundaries of what they consider to be a good thing?
But this goes cross disciplines. It's not just art. Like, everyone does this with everything. If you look at architecture from 200 years ago, we have the same style of arches that we had from Roman times or Greek times. So it's nothing new. And they can only refer to art. They can only refer to media. They can't talk about engineering or bridges or architecture or sandstone or other ways of creating things. You think there's no artistry or creativity in making a road or a sidewalk? There's all kinds. You're not just turning your brain off because you learned math and calculus properly. So talk to these engineers, some nuclear engineers. Talk to them. What do you do all day? Well, I try to keep our nuclear rods cool and what have you. It's not just pressing a few buttons and running a few equations. They're using their brains to make sure things are stable and working out. The same with, I had an engineer cousin who was he was at, General Electric. They were designing a certain angle of a flow rate and running simulations to make sure the nozzle would spray water properly in an engine so that you get the right nozzle, the maximum amount of efficiency out of your nozzle spray for fuel injection, what have you. So there's all sorts of different forms of creativity. And it's not limited
so much
to the arts. So,
and it's different. It's a completely different kind of. I'm pretty sure I don't have the papers offhand, but I'm pretty sure that there's different types of brain activity and configurations in human beings that favor one type of logical thinking over the other, but it's no less creative. It's like when you hear people that, you know, oh, I'm a civil engineer, I'm not much of an artist or whatever. You would completely disagree because it's just the canvas is different. Now, if I'm going out there and I'm planning a movie, I still have to plan out, let's say, a background environment that's going to make sense logically to give you the sublimation, the immersion effect of being able to look at it and go, that looks about right to me. It takes the exact same skill set as a person that's actually doing it. And not to mention the like you were saying about the arches. There's a very interesting combination between art and biology and just like a cosmic level geometry that we see over and over again, like things that are on a microscopic level that are patterns that are also macroscopic, like the archway that you're saying, and the way that the keystone, is it the keystone or the cornerstone that represents the top of it is very similar to the way that the human hip structure connects to the legs, very similar angles. And then if you look at the way that computers are developed and the way that their logic systems are very similar to the way that our own minds work and our own bodies work, it's because we're projecting into that.
I take issue
dimension.
with his definition of appropriation as if that's a bad thing, as if that's ever a bad thing. Look at Japan. Their entire production line for the past 50 years has been appropriation. And they've refined it and gotten better and gotten cheaper. And they make amazing stuff. And now we buy Scotch whiskey from Japan. Amazing Scotch whiskey. We buy all sorts of cars and technologies from them. What's wrong with appropriation? What's wrong with...
And we also... Sorry, we take from them too. We take from them with all sorts of aesthetics and mentalities when it comes to exercises and systems of think about how big of an impact anime has because of what is underneath that civic wise and the ethics of the people of Japan that Western civilizations are searching for now to rejuvenate its own stock of that. I see that a lot. I see a lot of people that go from anime because they feel like Western style animation and storytelling has failed them, and they go for the exact same morals and stuff that they would go for in Western content because it's only in anime now.
And we only got like manga and anime in the late 70s, and when it came to like, you know, South Africa or South America and then later America, it was like, wow, this is amazing stuff. We never had this before. We had like, you know, Astro Boy and other smaller names, but we got Macross and Gundam, all these other crazy big names we never heard of. And our entire world, our art world, animation world, even in Europe, changed. So
and and it changed the presentation of our work too. Like think about how much affected the way that movies and animation are presented in the Western context. All sorts of screen effects that are popular and ideas like bleed over all the time. Right.
So this concept of appropriation is basically what people do when they learn new things. They practice from their teachers. This is called learning anything. So keep appropriating, guys. Keep learning from other people. Yeah. Steal what's good and make it your own. Go for it.
And the superiority of one thought or one skill set will appear by bringing and mixing those things together. Like I think the best example is mixed martial arts. It's better than any specific martial arts from one area because it combines all of them together. How can you beat something that takes into consideration everything?
Yes, that's a good way of looking at it.
See anime video, Last Son of the West, where it's just like clips of characters from popular animes and video games and stuff like that. Like it's literally like the head of Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan, the body of the main character from Shadow of the Colossus, and then just like a bunch of cutouts of anime characters and like Google stock images. Reactionaries and fascists can't make art.
Oh, come on.
Reactionaries and fascists can't... Okay, the idea behind tropes are patterns in storytelling, whether you see that visually on the page, in sound, it makes no difference. You are going to get overlap. You are going to get... He described a Frankenstein caricature of something else. I don't even know what he was talking about. But that's normal, okay? You look at anime, you look at cartoons, you look at movies from the 70s and 80s and 90s, they all build upon themselves. This is not a fascist thing. This is not a reaction. How would a react if a reactionary is a critic? Are they making art? Not so much. They're criticizing. So I don't know what he's talking about there.
Well, I think reactionary is like his political. It's like
His
a kind of a
boogeyman.
leftist term.
Yeah,
It's like they say like, okay, if you present something that's progressive, an idea or something that is generally a good thing, then they will present that anybody reacting to that in a negative way to conserve the status quo as a reactionary. I'm pretty sure that that's the working definition for that. But in addition to that, the second part of what he's saying, fascists, I disagree.
Oh, boy.
And I am not a fascist, but you have to admit that there's a huge emphasis on aesthetics for the purpose of propaganda, for the purpose of cohesion, that creates a very, very high-end aesthetic. I think that fascists create excellent propaganda. I think Leni Riefenstahl, I think the Hugo Boss uniforms of the Nazis, I think that the way that the speeches and everything were filmed it's high-end artistic content, and I think that the proof is that a lot of that has been copied.
I'm
I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm just saying that it's effective.
I'm also hearing the buzzword so much that I think it's lost a lot of its meaning nowadays. So I always have to ask, what aspect of fascism? Italian fascism? Are you talking Third Reich? What area of the world?
Yeah.
What time period? And how are you talking about those fascists today? Maybe there are some fascists today. I've never met one. I don't know where they live. But if this guy knows,
I have.
Is
no,
he an
I've met
artist?
them, yeah. Well, the thing is that no, the people that I met that were fascists were more engineers, because it's a very systematic authoritarian way of thinking. And discussing these things with these people, they like the modern fascist aesthetic is retro futurism mixed with like an archaic revival thing. So it's like a mix of like 40s aesthetics and 80s vaporwave aesthetics, mixed with like 90s like club aesthetics. It's very interesting because they're trying to be modern, but they also want to be traditional. So they want some sort of neo percolation of that. So the Romanesque aesthetics of civilization echo as what they want to return to. They have a very important artistic element when it comes to that kind of materialism and foundational civilization world building aspect. And then the left side is much more expressionistic. And I think people confuse that with being more artistic. It's not. Both of them are interesting to look at, and both of them share very similar propaganda techniques. Like if you look at that, any of the North Korean or 60s Soviet propaganda, it's very similar to fascist propaganda in the way, the average person's a hero.
It sounds very similar to post-World War I, where you had the curvilinear lines and the Art Deco rectilinear lines. The same concept, just with different strokes.
Yes.
And
it has to be. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's doing exactly the same thing, just in a fresher, like depending on the art style. So it would be like Art Nouveau or bric-a-brac style mass production. Same thing, just different styles.
Yes. It has to be it has to appear to improve on the aesthetic. It has to appear to uphold the previous, because the idea is that when you introduce, as a fascist or as an authoritarian or as any kind of one of these people, you're trying to introduce a new version of something that is visible proof that your policies are working and valid. And part of what classical Italian and German fascism, whatever that time period was, we can free the people from classism and at the same time go back to dignity. And that's what the art looks like. But what's interesting is that is contrasted with like the more American-esque conservatism, which he could consider reactionary stuff, which could be like country western music, which has nothing to do with that, or like music that's nationalistic that has to do with like just Irish songs about Robert the Bruce. There's all sorts of aesthetics. I hate, again, the partisanship that people bring and paint that brush where like these people are invalid and they don't do something. Like, no, they did something. And if you ignore that, you're creating a weak spot for yourself.
It's kind of like talking about wars from other countries and celebrating them, like Robbie Burns Day. We can celebrate that anywhere in the world, but we just want to go out and have a fun time with our friends drinking and telling stories. Sure, we could have some haggis. Yeah. We can dance around the table, but there's nothing wrong with appropriating this beautiful thing and turning it into a fun time. So again, I have to say this is all a good thing. It's always uplifting everyone's culture, and even when you're talking about the Armenian genocide or what have you, there's a lesson to be learned. So whether it's history or art history or what have you, learn as much as you can, steal as much as you can, use as much as you can to be inspired to make your own stuff. And his whole commentary about reactionaries or it just doesn't make any sense.
No, and if you really want to make fun artistically and satirically of something like fascism, understand how its aesthetics work, and then you can undermine them because you can point out all of the errors and stupidities of it.
Yeah,
you know?
just don't call everyone that you disagree with a fascist. Please do not.
Yes,
that is the
or
silliest thing I've heard the past 10 years maybe.
I think calling people inaccurate labels is one of the cheapest moves that you can do. Just like you can defeat any enemy that you want to. I feel like if they're invalid and they're in error, then you just have to be. Isn't that like the art of war, basically?
Oh, that's a more complicated discussion.
But this is like gesticulating. You know what I mean? This is just like, oh, look at how bad this person is. They're a reactionary. Look at this, and I'm going to tie them together with fascists. What does Jeremy have to do with fascists? He's a dude from what is it, Alabama or something?
Who knows? It's just such a silly thing to say. Calling ad hominems on people is just always a joke. As soon as he did that within the first minute, I was like, oh, this is going to be in for a ride now. This man is just spitting in the wind. Anywho, here's a super chat from Mr.
Going, yeah.
Nathan Brake. Thank you, sir. The process of appropriating ideas from another culture and adapting to your own is called invention. These people are like the Borgs. They cannot invent. They can only steal.
Yeah.
You know what? I say that everyone does that. Everyone steals from everyone else.
And it's not just steal. Sometimes it's given. Like I again and again, I go back to MMA because you have Japanese martial arts and Chinese, which comes from Chinese martial arts originally because it's the ancient culture, you know, and the belt system and gi and all this stuff. Somehow that made it to Brazil, which applied to jiu-jitsu. So you have Brazilian jiu-jitsu belts, which now applies to MMA gyms where you're learning a new version of that. But you still have the belt system. You still have the general sensei system. You still have to do. There's still like an honor system. Things that go back to the beginning of time. We can't just attribute a small section of society that existed within a time period all of something, a cultural idea. You know, nobody I feel like who invented spit roasting beef or a side of meat or big game? That's probably been every culture ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have all these names for, you know, like Jägermeister, or what is it, Cacciatore. Every culture has a hunter who went out and got meat and preserved it. You know, this is very common throughout every culture. There's all these patterns, and to find similarities is natural. It's not appropriating. It's not, you know, stealing things or this or that. So
it's also funny that people are like so on top about ownership when, if you're a leftist, it's like, aren't you about collective ownership of things? Like, if somebody has something that is the means of production are important, then don't you want to share it with other people? Somehow appropriating and giving people like reparations for something that hasn't really been stolen from them is more important than the collective getting a benefit.
Yeah, the one thing I always say to those people is like, don't you work at a company? Like, don't they have like public or preferred shares? Can't you buy the company? Can't you own it yourself? What's stopping you? You're always arguing
like,
about,
I can never make that money. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the internet. Think about all the people that just randomly made money off Bitcoin. Think about Notch and what he did. Do you really think that Notch, the amount of money that he and time he put in, I don't even think he would agree. I think he got overpaid. You know what I mean? But he doesn't give a shit because that's what we live in. Who cares?
Okay, here's an interesting super chat from Demonic Beast Megatron 94. That's a really cool name. From your personal experiences with breadtubers, I don't have too many, but do you guys think they actually believe in half the crap they say, or do you think they deliberately lie in order to manipulate their fans? I think it's a combination of them being inspired by something that Marx wrote or someone from Russia wrote back in the day. They liked it. They say, hey, other people like this too. They got along with that crowd. Then they started learning what that crowd liked. Oh, feminism works. Oh, postmodernism works. Oh, this and that works. And it just kept going on and on. So they don't actually know what they're talking about. They're just reacting in a very similar way that those people like. So they don't actually think about economics. They have no clue how they got their cell phone, how they can buy it, how they can live the way they do today, and what Trump did with the tax cut is amazing. No one has any idea how great that was, aside from maybe the Canadians. Because we look at that and we say, holy crap, our profits nearly doubled within 2 months. How the hell did that happen? And we can only tie it back into that tax cut. I know we're totally off on a tangent here. But,
no, it's fine.
But if he does another like 1% cut here or there, it's going to be crazy. You guys are going to be the richest people ever in history. And Canada's going to be like, you just keep on trucking, brother. Like, keep going. So, yeah, it's amazing stuff what's happening in the world today, especially with the pandemic. But how businesses are reacting, how people are reacting. And there is no argument I can see ever that I've seen from socialism or communism being effective on a large scale, on a macro level. And all I see is loads and loads of examples of capitalism or free market forces or the contract rights or small scale businesses just kicking everyone's ass.
But here's the in regards to the question, do you think that they believe what they say? Because I do. I believe that they believe.
Sure, but it's not. It's not an intellectual reaction. It's sort of like, yeah, of course I do. But it's like believing in God. Like they have no basis. It's just that I believe in God because I believe in God.
So my note, and I don't really have a formalized version of this. I'm codify it into something, but I feel like socialism and communism, kind of that vector, that delta, is a religious belief.
Yes.
After you lose faith in God, like you start to look.
Yeah, it's funny because Marx wrote about how religion is the opiate of the masses. It's like, well, guess what your opiate is? It's Marxism. It's exactly that.
Yeah, it's more of a cult, and the way that it operates is more cult-like than it is giving credit. Because it's all about demonizing people that are external to it, And the other thing that I find very interesting is that there's a cynical part of me that knows that if I were in an environment where everybody socialist, and this was just the way that the cookie was crumbling, and I was in a position where I'm like, oh, I'm a part of the youth element of the party and we're doing this, I totally understand Stalin then, because it's like he probably, and I think this is true for a lot of socialist people, they probably hate the fact that they have to be on the same level as all these other people. So they want to elevate themselves and get away from this stupidity that they see around them. So maybe they start believing in it, and then they get disillusioned by it. And the reason why I believe that is because I read Hitler's autobiography, and he says in it that he starts out as a democratic socialist, and he just got tired of going to meetings that didn't seem to go anywhere, that were just a bunch of drunk labor union people. Like, well, obviously then the impetus becomes to radicalize and try and unite different factions. So you have a guy that, because he was a veteran, he put the veterans into the position and started using force directly. Started becoming like a militia force, that kind of thing. So it's like, I don't think that any socialist ideology pans out into a utopia. I think it always pans out into whoever's the most opportunistic person in the party at the time, whether it's Lenin or Marx or whoever. And the people that always lose are the most fanatical idealists that get pushed out, like a Trotsky.
Everything defaults to some sort of oligarchy. It's any political system. If you want to think about it to its conclusion, what really happens? There's a bunch of few people in the world who control all the guns, all the money, all of this or that, all the resources. So that's why we have. And
I think. Yeah, go on.
That's why we have blue chip companies, even though they're doing things capitalistically, but there's also crony capitalism within that. So you have all these big military corporations and contracts that just keep getting bigger and bigger. Now, whether that's good or bad, whether that happens because of the left or the right being voted in, I have no idea. America is a big phenomenon. I have no idea how it operates. I just sort of sit in awe. It's like, oh, that $4 trillion, $5 trillion. Okay, it's like,
yeah.
How? I have no idea how you guys operate. So
we're a little delusional, to be honest. But the thing is that when it comes to America and its values, the reason why I like it so much is that I think that the cynicism of the founders was enough to realize what you just said, which is like inherently any government system is going to end up being oligarchical, because there's going to be bad actors and psychopaths in the in-between that are going to try and crawl up and steal a little power over here and do a little bit over here and there. So you have to come up with a system that's as defendable and as airtight as possible to prevent that, which is why I guess I am a democratic Republican kind of person, because I think that government really exists to protect the people from people that want to be in charge of government. Like we have to protect the rights of the people. We have to protect the Constitution. We have to give the individual as much power as possible, because there are crazy people that are going to try and take over. So let's come up with a system that stops that as much as possible and try and police it. I'm more defensive than Republican or Democrat. You know what I mean?
Sounds like
that's my politics.
Sounds like you want like a Constitution police going, no, can't do that. Sorry. No, it's like what the Supreme Court should have been, but it's like, no, listen, it just says this. This is all it says.
But what's funny is that when you have that, then you go, okay, and you're like, oh no, we're going down where it's the Ouroboros problem.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it all comes down to individuals, and like if it's people like you and me in this conversation, and I help people in chat that like we will something in, and we all agree on it, and we agree on that rule, and we all behave a certain way, then that won't happen, or we can recognize when it's happening. And it's just that's the ongoing fight for civilization. It'll never end. But that's why I'm not a utopianist, because I know it's a fight. We're not in like an ideal situation where we can just move this over here and move this, and then we'll obtain socialist utopia.
Yeah, that's one of the great arguments against Plato. As much as I enjoyed Plato and his Republic, it's heavily flawed. But we've never tested even half of the stuff, not even a quarter of the stuff that he imposed, which is crazy because it already puts the mankind, the people who are in charge, in this ideal state. And in order to be that, you're essentially a monk. You're essentially you own nothing. You have to be in this ideal world. You have no ambitions. All you do is argue. All you do is make sure you have the right golden path to lead everyone down. And that's all you care about. You don't care about your family. You don't care about. You can't even own things. You can't even own the shirt off your back. It's a bunch of Socrates running around. No one can do that.
Tyranny of rhetoric.
Yeah, it's impossible to maintain. If it was possible, I'd be impressed wholeheartedly. But it's it's a pipe dream. So we'll get there once we have a better understanding of resources and people and politics aside. So,
like we were talking about Star Trek.
Yeah.
Once we achieve the Star Trek environment, then we won't even have to have the conversation anymore. It'll all just be there. It'll feel like a revelation because, who needs to rob a liquor store or whatever or join a gang when everybody has a nice place to live and food and they can just do whatever they want.
Right. And they don't hurt anyone as a result. And why would they need to? Because they have everything.
Yeah. There's no it's justification that enables criminality. And if there's no justification for even the most average regular person, it won't happen.
So in conclusion, what we're trying to say is that steal all the ideas you can, make your own stuff, criticize everyone, and get along as best as you can. Don't blame people for doing exactly that, because that's how we learn. That's how
everything is like a copy. It's you want to copy things, mix them, and transform them, and that'll come up with something new.
Yeah, all of writing is just taking exactly the same old story and just shifting the perspective of the audience just a slight angle and shed a new light on something you've already seen before. That's all it is.
Yeah, because we're all looking at the same reality. And that's why it's fun to see somebody else's vision.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Devoid of any artistic integrity. Instead, they appropriate.
I love that word, artistic integrity, as if this man knows what that means.
I don't even know what that means, and I want to believe in it.
It's such an esoteric idea, artistic integrity. I create a waterfall. Where did I get that? From my memory. Where did you get that? I don't know. You have no artistic integrity. Okay. Sorry.
That's why I love that they're always going against Christians and stuff, because it's so easy to troll these people from the Christian perspective. You just go, I made some great art, but it was all God that inspired it. I just copied God's work. And then they're like, oh, how can you say that?
Yeah, it's another word for the God in between, or it's like my imagination or things I can't explain, my inspiration, my muse, what I had to drink the night before, whatever. It's just God did it. Okay.
It's the difference between like ascribing something to divinity or ascribing something to natural phenomena. It doesn't, that to me is artistic inspiration, and who cares where it comes from, really.
Hello, I have returned.
Now, the first question is, what kind of pizza was it, and how much did you eat, sir?
Yes.
I ate the whole thing.
Wow.
Nice.
There was garlic bread as well. It was delicious. And it was a meat feast. There was pepperoni and there was ham. There was mushroom, because I'm one of those weird people who like mushroom on pizza. Fresh rocket. It's lovely. The neighbors down the road have basically a pizza oven. So they're cooking for the entire...
That's
in,
awesome.
That's the
street.
best
Beautiful.
neighbors to have.
Exactly. Why do you think I live here?
Why would you have a pool or a bunch of tracts of land? It's like no. Do you have a pizza oven? You're perfect. All right, I'm living here. That's exactly what I want.
Yeah, that is.
Sadly, there was no pineapple, which could have made it better. Obviously, that perfect combination of sweet and savory.
This is true.
Yeah, I don't discriminate people's pizza taste.
Oh no, I'm Italian. I'm an embracer of all breads. So as soon as you said garlic, we don't have garlic bread in Italy, but we do have bread which you can put garlic on if you want. So it's like go for it.
Oh
man.
yeah. Isn't like the original garlic bread just like it's the same thing as like the pizza dough, but it's just without sauce. It's like a mixture maybe of thyme and oregano and some olive oil and some cheese on it, maybe Parmesan. Isn't that a thing, like an appetizer?
There's focaccia, but that's basically just dough, which is bread, but you then treat it like it is a pizza after the fact. So it's like you put oil and herbs on it. You can make sandwiches out of it. You can do whatever you like. We have dessert dough. We have the Italian stuff, panettone. There's all kinds of breads. So
I love sfogliatelli. I'm a huge fan of Italian food, man. I'm enamored by it. That's the sauce.
Fair.
I need the gravy. Gabagool over here. Come on.
I still know what gabagoo is. I have no idea.
It's the Italian. No, it's the New Jersey way to say capicolo.
Oh,
isn't that funny?
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, really. It's so and then they say marron, but it's Madonna.
Maro. Oh, jeez, come on.
Yeah, it's a mixture of that New Jersey. Hey, how you doing? I'm from New Jersey. Yeah. It's oranges. It's not orange. It's orange. Come on, hey. Mixed with the Italian, so it creates a very, very interesting dialect.
Jeez. Okay, cool. I gotta watch The Sopranos more. I don't know. Whew.
Oh, it's a great middle-aged show.
The art that already exists to push their fascist agenda.
Okay, again, fascist agenda. There is no fascist agenda, people. I don't know who he's talking about. I don't even know how you have a fascist agenda and how that would work in art. And even if you had one...
Didn't you say a while ago that only left-leaning people can create art?
Yeah, we had a whole discussion about that.
So does he not consider fascism to be left-leaning? Or
I'm sure he thinks it's the most right-wing thing ever.
It's hard to define fascism as left or right, because once you go into fascism, you've already sort of abandoned other principles.
I'm pretty sure it's center authoritarian. It's very in between Marxism and state capitalism, but it's all emphasis on ethno-nationalism, which seems to be about creating a hierarchy of who's in charge of the body national instead of the individual. So it's very north of the spectrum and doesn't really it consumes both sides. It consumes everything because it's totalitarian.
Is that make no mistake, making videos on YouTube, such as Geeks and Gamers, is an art form. You have your own style, you have your own audience, and your own narrative to push.
Yeah.
So this is an art form as well.
Right. So when we're talking about fascism, I always want people to say, do you know a man named Giovanni Gentile? Like, they probably don't, but he wrote a book about about fascism. So he helped write the manifesto. And I bet no one has read it. So it's called The Doctrine of Fascism. And I only know that because one of my girlfriends studied fascism back in university. So she read it. So she knows what she was talking about. And yeah, I always ask that. Have you heard of Giovanni Gentile? If you haven't, then you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Just read that book. There's like a 50-step process. There's like so much criteria whether or not you have fascism. And no individual is fascist. It doesn't make sense. It does not even register.
And admittedly, I'm much more knowledgeable on Spanish nationalism of that time period and German National Socialism for sure. That's because I found that to be more intimidating and effective than the Italian variety, which seemed to be implemented half-assed.
It is half-assed because you could still own property, but the state can also own it. And you're like, what? What does that do? How does that work? So...
The other thing I have to ask people is if they've read Julius Evola and if they think that's fascist and what that means. Have you read any of that, the Ride the Tiger thing?
No, I haven't actually.
that would be considered reactionary. I find I'll send you that little pamphlet. It's very interesting. It's like sort of a more spiritual look at the times, but from somebody who would maybe sympathize with the more authoritarian perspective. And so it's quoted by people that are authoritarian, but not necessarily people that are actually, like, he's not actually a fascist. That's the thing. It's nuanced, basically. And I find it interesting because most of the people that I think would be considered to be like a warrior class or somebody that would want to be a knight or somebody of nobility or something like that ultimately ended up being authoritarian fascists in that time period because of how powerful socialism was in the peasant class and how the noble classes were falling apart. It's a big disaster. And I think it's funny that socialists are still pulling their political idealism from an era when a lot of social disasters were going on.
Yeah,
like,
I just use the term to understand that they're referring to someone they demonize. So hate the Nazis, call them fascists, and that's that. That's as far as they go. They don't actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on, Jeremy is a fascist. Are you joking? Like, give me a break.
Jeremy's a fascist. Anyway.
Do you think AOT is fascist? No, I think Vosh made a good case for it not being fascist. Thank you for the $5, by the way, Larry Banks. To answer your question, why they don't do that, it's because there's a lot.
So he listens to Vosh. Fantastic. Who saw that coming, right?
He sounds exactly like Destiny, so I'm sure that he listens to Vosh and him religiously.
A lot of money in it. Geeks and Gamers is a very open grifter. The guy uploads, I think it's 5 videos a day.
Grifter?
We can go through and count. It's 3 to 5 videos a day.
Do you know what that is?
Only in like the most loose sense possible, in the sense that it's a street thief.
Yeah, like a rip-off artist. Somebody who's selling you. He's like, "Yo, buy this watch. It's a genuine Rolex," and then it's a bullshit watch.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's what it is. And it's funny because it's like he's referencing, oh, he makes 5 videos a day. And I think it's funny that Jeremy is considered a grifter because I'm pretty sure that his entire agenda is to support people. That always seems to be his agenda. That's the reason why he's a team. He's not trying to grift people, rip people off. I don't know what it is that he doesn't push his shit too much. He just goes like, we got hats, shirts, whatever, mugs. You want to buy some shit? Okay. Like, who cares? He's not like a Twitch thought or whatever that's coming out here and being like, you're ripping me off. You're a leech. You need to pay $5. If I don't get a sub, I'm shutting the stream down.
I will not acknowledge your existence until you buy this merchandise.
Yeah, he doesn't do that. And he responds to people.
Unless he's saying he makes so many videos that's grifting, which I highly doubt, because everyone who wants to make videos is free to do so. And if they get subs, if they get, 0.03 cents per view, good for them. So is Xander. He's getting the same thing. So what's the problem here?
Yeah, exactly. If you're too good for somebody that makes daily uploads of like little news bites, then just don't watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Make better content. How is that a problem? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
The guy uploads. Like, there's no reason to do that unless you're just in it for making money.
Or you're passionate.
Maybe it's his job. Who knows? Who cares? It's whatever reason he wants. Who cares?
He's created a brand and he's got a community and he's selling merchandise. So I suppose he's doing this A, for passion, B, because it's actually something he is good at and it earns him money. I wouldn't do a job I hate.
I'm pretty sure he quit his job to do this because he enjoyed it so much.
Exactly. And if you've got a job that earns you money but you are passionate about it, then you've hit the fucking gold mine in this kind of economy.
Seriously.
But of course he's grifting for views. Is that like, is all clickbait titles? Is all his thumbnails to get you attracted? Well, guess what? He's doing the job. He's doing exactly what he wants.
But isn't that exactly what Xanderhal would do as well anyway? People who are subscribed to him specifically because of the politics, and they want a voice who's going to talk about things and express it in a way that they would not do themselves.
Well, I want to actually bring that up because I actually put a post on his video. Let me see if I can show it to you guys.
I don't understand what makes him different in that sense.
Damn, he's got 23,000 subscribers. That's amazing.
So this is me. This is me right here. How is it shameless to upload 5 videos a day? What's wrong with having a job? How is this a bad thing? What's wrong with being popular? And the only conclusion I have is, are you just jealous and impressed? because why else would you say that? And I got some replies already. So here's some fellow, Lamau is simping pretty hard for that freak, aren't you? How much did you get paid? I don't even know who Jeremy is. I don't know what the hell these guys talking about.
I've never spoke to the man in my life.
Yeah, me neither. I've never really had a conversation. I like to call him my tweet responses. I think we've had a little chat. I don't know. Maybe that was Josiah. How do I know? But I think that's the thing is like general, just good faith argument, right? You just approach, you see what Jeremy's doing. How is it different from many YouTubers? What's the curve? Who's the worst? Who's the best? Like, you know what I mean? And I'll be the judge of who's a grifter. I've thought about it myself. I have 517 subscribers. How many videos should I make before I open up a Patreon? What is the actual ethic of that? Where's the line? Should I even do it at all? I don't need to. So should I? What is it that we're doing here? We're trying to enjoy the whole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, if Xanderhal, like at the end of this, like pushing merch or a Patreon page, that kind of makes him a hypocrite.
He's pushing 5 or 6 links at the bottom of his screen.
Right. Well.
So his social media, his what is it, Patreon or whatever they call it. He's pushing everything. So he's obviously trying to make money too. He's just not as good as Jeremy, I think.
Well, yeah, that's the strong thing with Jeremy is he's been around the block a bit. He has a brand at this point and a community behind him, and that's the selling point. It's not the I would say whatever the political agenda that he pushes, and undoubtedly he has one, but that comes secondary to the fact he's actually put the effort in to create a community that support each other and support him and his work, and he has a team of people behind him.
It's the same reason why
it's
the same reason why Vosh is bigger than this guy, because Vosh is so passionate and he keeps making content that people want. As crazy as it is to me, and as ridiculous as he sounds, and I think he's just a clown with a crazy left-leaning slant, people like Vosh. People watch his content, read the comments, they love it. So that's all it is. It's just popularity and passion. So
yeah.
I hate capitalism, so please hand over your shekels.
Exactly. It's so ironic. It's hilarious.
That was brilliant. Flint Lockwood, that's gold.
I see that over and over again. There's always a justification. It's like, well, of course I need money because I'm living in this capitalist hellhole, so you got to donate to me. It's like, oh, come on. Stop making excuses. Just be you. Just say that you want money.
Like, that is just fucking egregious.
It's egregious? Why?
Make 5 minutes.
This is egregious! Sounds like Michael Scott.
What's egregious? I make 5 videos a day, or did I miss something?
Yeah, 5 videos is bad because he's shilling and he's grifting and he's a fascist.
What if he condensed that all down from those 5 videos into just one longer video? Would it be just as bad, or I'm confused?
Well, he'd make less views, so.
Yeah, but he'd have a longer video and cover more topic. He'd cover the exact same amount of content. So, if it was 5 videos rolled into one, let's say you made 5 5-minute videos, or you uploaded 1 video a day for 25 minutes and it covered 5 different topics.
Right, it's like Ben Shapiro does a daily news broadcast of all the events of the day.
Yeah, what if he broke that up into 8 different videos for 1 for each topic?
Oh, he'd go crazy. He'd have all this content. It would be nuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing as like if you made for example, if you made a 9-hour video series and you broke it up into 3 pieces and they said, oh, that's too long. It's like, okay, what if I broke it up into 9 1-hour videos, or how about 18 30-minute videos? Is that any better? It's the same amount of content. It would take you just as long to consume. So I don't understand the argument.
Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan's doing it wrong because he's the most popular podcaster ever and he has like 4-hour videos. It's like, oh, he's grilling or he's shifting, whatever.
It's too long.
He's grifting because he talks to one
it's
person.
Too long, and then you break. It's too long, and then you break it up. It's like there's too many. It's like, what do you want me to do?
Too long, too short, too often, too money, whatever. It's just like it's exactly what you
grifting.
said. Just jealous. You're just jealous. Give it up.
He doesn't align with my politics, therefore he's bad. Make up excuse.
So
go down the
so
list.
We got We've
And
got
again,
Longman
how
Bad.
dare you? I've never gotten a smidgen of Jeremy having bad intent against people except him complaining about other people that he has no control over ruining the things he likes.
Griftman Bad.
That's the only thing that he does. He just hates it when other people in Hollywood are talking terribly about fans.
I was going to say, we got on one end of the spectrum, you've got Mauler, which is Longman Bad, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got Jeremy, which is Griftman Bad. Griftman.
Pathetic.
How do you do that? I can't even imagine uploading 5 videos a day. Maybe if I was just streaming every day and I managed to get 5 videos worth of content out of it and I just clipped it and uploaded it to YouTube. But
Wow,
like,
so you can imagine it.
I'll admit, uploading 5 videos a day, even
Cut
if you're
this
a piece of
50-minute
shit
thing
grifter,
into
that
5
is
segments.
A significant amount
Fucking
of work.
idiot.
There's not a lot of hours in the day to do that, you know?
Oh, so Jeremy works harder than you, and you admit it. Thank you. That's a good observation.
It's almost like he's got a team of maybe an editor to pass this on to afterwards.
Maybe.
And what have you, to sort of make it more efficient, to dole out the content. Because this is the thing, he's complaining about this, but YouTube is solely based on the amount of content you can pump out in a single day.
Are you saying that Jeremy distributes labor
It's
to the community?
it's like he's working efficiently to get the most effective time and recognition out of the screwed algorithm that is YouTube. It's almost like he planned this.
It's like it's his lifestyle and his job, and he's very good at it.
Yeah. It's like he has a plan to actually get notoriety on YouTube by actually posting more content a day.
And Xander is
like,
not
hey,
jealous.
check out this guy.
He's not jealous. He's just
No, not at all.
he's just
You know, it's funny. I don't think any of us say that like Destiny or Vosh or whatever. They're not grifters. Because we assume that they believe in what they're saying, and their audience also pays into that belief. They are paying into something. It's not the same as somebody who is trying to sell something that they don't necessarily believe is a good thing to do. Even Jeremy from the Quartering, who gets a lot of shit for being somebody who just latches on to whatever stories in the media, he's not trying to grift people. He genuinely enjoys what he does. So I just hate this. You know, it's something that we don't do. We don't say, oh, this person's a grifter. You know who's a real grifter is Anita Sarkeesian, because she steps into conversations that she doesn't know anything about or give a shit about, just for the sake of power and for the sake of getting money.
And I'm not going to say Jeremy is like putting. I would not go so far as to say when he sits down and make each individual video, he's not. It's not the same level of effort as someone sitting down and creating a script for hours upon hours on end, etc., to make something really informative and concise. Because it's just not what Jeremy does. It's the quality pumping out short stories and talking about it and then saying, how do you feel about it? Let's have a discussion, etc. So I would not say you're going to get a very informative level playing field of a perspective, and especially in terms of talking about the facts and logic from Jeremy, because it seems very much like it's a one take kind of thing from him. But that's not necessarily bad. It's a fucking style. So
it's commentary, whereas something that you get from Mahler is analysis. It's not the same thing.
I would not. I would not go into a Jeremy video expecting him to be detailed and concise. I would be going into it to see, you know what, I like this guy. What's his perspective on this right now?
But holy fuck, is it fucking shameless? Shameless!
how?
I don't understand. We just covered this, so
Yeah. No, I'm just like, it's just a silly thing he's saying.
I started seeing the advertising going on and some of the characters and the gender swapping going on, I started to become concerned, and I just can't really motivate myself to watch season 7 once the Ahsoka arc begins. So today,
What? Gender swapping? What? Wait, is he is he like referencing something
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
don't know
confused.
about?
He's talking about the upcoming Dune movie in December, how they replaced Chani's father with a woman. That was about it.
Yeah, I don't care if it's the same character being written.
It's a secondary character. It's not a big deal, but it's kind of silly when you have a primary source and all you got to do is follow that.
It's
So
kind of pointless, I'm gonna say.
yeah, it's not a huge deal, but still, I would say if you have the
You're
primary
like,
source,
why?
why
Yeah.
touch it?
I just wanna touch on something that chat is saying about. If what G&G does is so easy, you go do it with the same level of success. I'll wait.
Yeah, I've been doing that
No,
for about a year now, and nowhere near at the same level of quality as
I
Jeremy.
do. I do agree. I do agree, though. Well, we've all agreed that it's not you're not going for Geeks and Gamers to get that informative, detailed, or objective. What's
It's
the word?
not. It's not the same thing.
Perspective.
It's.
No.
He's gonna come in there. He's gonna state his opinion. He's gonna be like, I don't like this shit because of this shit, and then his audience goes, you know what? I kind of agree with that, or maybe they disagree with that, and then we move on. If you want
Yeah.
something else, then go to somebody else. That's
You go to
what a
someone
free
else,
market is
exactly,
about.
yeah.
And I don't understand. I really just don't understand diminishing what people do instead of appraising it as it is. Just say what it is. There's no reason, and there's no reason to be jealous. There's no reason to be like, you know, oh, this person, Xander, has 20,000 subscribers. He has more subscribers than all of us. Fine.
Yeah.
So what? Who are his subscribers? Who is he talking to? I have a better conversation with the people that are in this chat than the conversation that I would have with the people in those chat, even if there's 20,000 of them.
Oh, I could imagine trying to even talk to one of them. Oh, dear. Okay, super chat from Lancelot652. Thank you, sir. Jeremy is also making his own website, paying the editors and developers so his community has a place and people on his team to write articles. So he has a blog. There you go. Good stuff, Jeremy. You got a business going.
And by the way, that couldn't be further from the way that someone like Mahler does something where he does all the work himself. And it's all about his specific thing. He drops it selectively. It's all about quality. It's all about revision. And then you have someone like Jeremy who has a lot of people working for him so he can keep the machine moving. He wants to have a big community interaction. He wants to have this whole thing. It's two different visions. And they can coexist. And that's my thing. I can go through my sub box and go, I don't want to look at this. What's the problem?
Or you might go, you know what? I don't like this thing either. Let's go watch this guy who I'm subscribed with, see if he agrees with me on this certain whatever it is, this situation that's going on, and then you can find out what his 2 cents is. And that's ultimately, I think, what Geeks and Gamers provides. And it's not just Jeremy, of course. Yeah, he has a team behind him creating these videos. It's not just him, 5 videos a day.
Oh yeah, no. Mahler has hired editors for the EFAT minis, but what I'm the thing that made his channel popular is something that's underneath his direct control. And that I think is important because when you have something like Jeremy, he separates his political stuff and his personal opinion on Twitter and on YouTube from his company's presence as a entity. And I think that that's important, is that you have cohesion in what it is that you're presenting to people, because otherwise you don't know what you're presenting if you're just all over the place. Anyway,
Because I have no idea about any gender swapping happening in season 7. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it to end, and I'm gonna binge watch it with my harem. But yeah, what the fuck is he talking about? Gender swapping? Dune?
what is Dune?
I heard about Dune. It's like some show, like a Star Wars related thing.
Wow.
This guy doesn't know what Dune is?
Wow.
One of the most important sci-fi franchises ever?
That's pathetic. That's pathetic. Because that's what one of the things Star Wars is based on.
Well, that's fine. Not everyone knows like the greats, the classics of science fiction. I can forgive that. But for him not to know Dune is like in your face movies, videos, made for TV, books. So many quotes, so many lines. Okay. It's like not knowing Blade Runner, like to me. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
Like, I've just heard about it. I saw it on Twitter. They're complaining about Dune. Wait, is Dune Star Wars related?
Even I know that, and I've never heard of it.
Nah, it's a book adaptation.
It's a book adaptation.
So it's just adaptation from some book. Okay. Wait, what the fuck? Why is he talking about Dune? This is a Star Wars video. The fuck?
Oh.
So
And
just some
says
sci-fi
the guy
movie
who
for
went off to go
universe?
look for a fucking stupid
Alright.
meme.
No
I
idea
tweeted
why he's
out
talking
a
about it.
picture of one of the many reasons, and
I
the
saw
key
this tweet.
here is many reasons why I have not watched season 7 since the Ahsoka arc began, and I really upset a lot of people. I really upset a lot of people that are fighting for the right of hairdos because
No,
I love
no
that.
one is fighting for the right of hand dues. Hand dues? What the fuck? Why can't I speak? Hairdos. No one's fighting for the right for hairdos. The guy tweeted something that, knowing his history, was probably a bit racist.
Oh my
it was just
God.
2 brown characters. We're about to see the tweet in a second. It was basically just
It was a bit racist. Don't forget that. Always plug them. Keep attacking.
Yep. I know how this is going to go. It's going to be because it's like the argument is that Hollywood and progressive Hollywood specifically has this idea that a strong, powerful black woman is a woman with like a short afro or a large afro from the 70s that talks jive and doesn't take no shit. And it's the same character in everything. And I think that if you asked an average black dude or black woman off the street, or even an exceptional one, you know what I mean? Is this racist or is commenting on it racist? Which one's more, the stereotype or the person that's noting it? Seriously.
Or the person keeps using it in all their stories because they think it's the right way to appropriate or to show off what a black woman is. How else would you relate?
Is there a reason why she can't have braids? Is there a reason why she can't have nice hair that's like, you know, put in whatever way that's traditionally African or however Caribbean hairstyle she wants in a bandana? Is there a specific reason why it has to be a 70s feminist afro? Why is it always the same shit? Am I racist for saying that? That's what I just went through is the entire argument basically that Xanderhal is going to try and impose on Jeremy. It's all this hyperbole.
I don't agree. I don't agree with the. I mean, he's perfectly fine to say that like he didn't like one arc, so he's not going to watch the rest of the show. But I don't think the two things coincide. Just because one storyline in an anthology series sucks doesn't mean the next storyline will as well, by association. I don't agree. He's not said that, but I think that's kind of the mentality behind it. He refuses to watch the next set of episodes because of the previous set. But I don't think that's a logical argument. Essentially, I do agree. The arc he's talking about is probably the most treading of water I've seen from the show, and that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that it was in the final season where we're supposed to be wrapping all this stuff up, and there's so many other episodes you could have squeezed in that would have like done better to explain the finale to the Clone Wars, essentially. Like if this arc he's referring to had been like put in season 2 or 3, I think I'd have had far more clout to accept it. But it's just the fact that it's just such a waste of time, and the characters are so stupid. Even Ahsoka, and I don't think it's that good at all. But that doesn't mean that this current arc that's now being released sucks. It's not great in terms of writing. There are some flaws, as people have discussed, but it's not like it disgusts me, I won't watch it kind of thing.
Also, it's like when Angry Video Game Nerd, when James Rolfe said he wasn't going to watch the Ghostbusters 2016, and everybody attacked him for that. And it's like, oh, is he sexist because he doesn't want to see this? No, you're reaching. He just doesn't want to see specifically the thing that he likes altered into something else that he thinks is much less what he's interested in. That's away from the target.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Stop leading into arguments, you know? It's like what Smud said in 5 seconds, though. It's always got to attack him.
The Clone Wars has been ruined by SJW characters, and it's Ahsoka standing next to 2 black women.
Again, I wouldn't say that SJW. I'd just say they're really fucking
I don't
thick.
think it's the hair. I don't think it's the hairdos that he's talking about.
It's the fact that they're
if
black.
He's making a big deal about hairdos, and he's the one that's a fucking brain dead idiot here.
Right.
Fucking snowflake.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Oh, he's the snowflake, right?
Yeah, he's Snowflake. Yeah.
Again, this is the thing that I refer to when it comes to Jeremy. It's like he needs to provide evidence for their SJWs, therefore they're bad. And I don't believe in that statement to begin with. It's got nothing to do with the fact they are social justice characters. They'd be just as fucking stupid and terrible if they were white characters with fucking standard blonde hair. It's just the fact that they happen to be... They are just stupid characters who are also black. But they would still be stupid, because they are stupid. Every character decision they make is stupid. The entire story arc is stupid, because there's literally an episode where they are captured, They go off to do a thing, get nowhere, get recaptured, and it is the most treading of water I've ever. It's the most padding I've ever seen for a final season of a show.
Yes. Yes.
It's got nothing. It's got fuck all to do with their race. They are just lame characters to begin with.
But we got to be honest. This is an SJW trope. This haircut, this characterization of what a black woman as a strong woman is supposed to be is a complete SJW stereotype, and I find it to be exactly equivalent of like the early 1920s mammy stereotype. To me, it's just two flavors.
You are absolutely right, but they could look the most conservative of conservative women possible. They would still be bad characters. It's just an aesthetic thing. They would still be terribly written if they were gingers, white-skinned gingers.
Right, no. So
or if they were Chinese, or if they were Mexican or whatever, they're still crap.
The reason why I hate this argument is because we all know at the bottom of it that artistically what is most important is what is going to be an effective thing for the story. It doesn't really matter race, whatever. Idris Elba's James Bond, Donald Glover's Spider-Man. You're talking to the wrong person that's going to judge these artistic ideas. What I don't like is agenda-based ideas that have nothing to do with the art, because that to me is the same thing as hiring practices that have nothing to do with merit. That's the same thing as lowering standards. That's this, if somebody arbitrarily comes in and says this character should be race swapped because they're this race and we want this race, and there's no reason to do that,
right?
Except for it's supposed to appeal to somebody on a meta level.
Yeah,
I think that's disgusting.
That's what we had with Ryan Johnson with the Bombers. There's no reason to have those elements aside. He got inspired from watching some footage from World War II of the bombs.
It's to appease a larger audience. They go, that there's an African American in this show. I'm African American, therefore and this matters to me more somehow now.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to address Phoenix in the chat, because he's saying, okay, if you didn't watch it, it's all fine and good, but you don't need to make a video about it then. The arc is bad. I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just saying if you're going to complain about something, at least have the balls to watch it, make an informed opinion. Who cares what a character's hair looks like? They're in a totally different galaxy. So if you didn't watch it, he can explain and make a video about why he didn't watch it. That's a legitimate video to make, number one. Number two, I agree. Informed opinion is always going to be better because you've watched it and you reviewed it. Maybe he'll change his opinion. I think he's been known to do that. Number three, who cares what their character's hair is, blah, 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 like that. Aesthetic choices matter to a universe that has been established. Now, when you start dragging in a trope, like I've been saying, and I have to hammer this point home, this is a stereotype that has been picked up by people that think it's progressive to introduce characters that look and talk like that, as opposed to it being exactly the same stereotype that makes an Indian tonto. The exact same stereotype that makes a hick an idiot is the stereotype that makes this 1970s pro-black woman show up with her afro all out, trying to talk about how bad these people are and how great these people are. Oh, honey child shit. That is cringe. So it doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter who you are. That trope is so fairly obvious that it's cringe. It's the exact same thing as when you see a Prince Charming character. It's hard to take that seriously because that character obviously has to have ulterior motives at this point. There's no dimension to the reason why these characters are like this. If you want to understand what I'm saying, there's graphics online, like the Wolfenstein game that has this character injected into it. You have the Far Cry series that had these characters injected into it. It's actually a disservice to the people that they're trying to represent. It's not good representation. So no matter whose metric you're using, mine, Rags, Wolf, a random dude on the street, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be disappointing because it's based on a trope and a stereotype at the end of the day. It's not a deliberate enumeration on anything interesting. That's the reason why that hair pisses people off, because it just signifies that this character needs to have a sort of lesbian-looking haircut, colloquially. This character needs to have shaved head, but something on the top, because that is representative of a hybrid masculine-feminine entity that's trying to be pushed by an agenda. I'm sorry that I have to call that out and people want to hide that as artistic. That's specific. So when people are getting mad at Jeremy for having this argument all the time or for making a video on it, I again have to go back to the actual logic of the argument. You're saying he's not making it, but I'm making it right now at least, because that's happening. And I don't understand why we have to ignore that. If somebody genuinely artistically wants to make that hair, they're perfectly fine to do it. Jeremy's perfectly fine to reject it. and I'm gonna say what I think is the actual situation. So I'm sorry about that diatribe, but that's how I feel about this whole situation. It's so nitpicky and it's so shallow that I can't believe it's being made into any kind of like issue.
Okay, let's keep going then.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think he might be talking about something else. Well, let's see.
If you disrespect a person's hair, even without mentioning their hair, Twitter will come for you. So I tweeted this picture out. Now, what I said in the tweet is, this is one of...
Okay. Let's go through this really quickly. There are two scenarios here that are possible. Either Geeks and Gamers isn't like a fucking racist, right? And he's genuinely offended by their hairdo. Or he is a racist and he's talking about them being brown. And he's like, brown characters in Star Wars, only one. If you ask any Star Wars fan, there's only one brown character that's allowed to be in Star Wars. And that's Lando Calrissian.
Oh.
Only one black guy is allowed in the Star Wars universe. I know it's a massive universe. It's a massive universe that Star Wars takes place in, or galaxy really. But Mace Windu, yeah, that's true actually too. Mace Windu.
That's funny.
And Lando Calrissian are the two black guys that are allowed to exist.
And then the sequel trilogy gave us Finn, and they turned
people.
No, but the sequel trilogy gave us Finn and turned Finn into
What about
Jedi.
all the clones? What about 100% of the clones?
Hair, hairstyle. Wait, hold on. That doesn't even make sense. Because Star Wars is no fucking stranger to crazy hair. Like crazy SJW hairstyles. Hold on.
No. I've never seen an SJW test with Princess Bunhead.
Fucking type. Hold on.
Get out of here.
What? Okay, this is racist.
I've never seen anybody unironically wear the Rey haircut.
Stranger to crazy fucking hairstyles. If you look at Legends, for example, if you look at like hairstyles that were in Legends, you got some pretty fucking crazy hairstyles. Are any gonna come up?
I mean, you got Ventress right in the middle there. How about that?
What does that have to do with Disney Star Wars?
But the point, I don't care what hairstyle the character has. I really don't. It is like the most supplemental of design features.
Yeah, and Jeremy just saying this looks like an SJW type. Girls who shave
Holdo
their
could have had yellow. Holdo could have had brown
No,
hair. Should have still been a terrible character if Holdo had brown hair and was
I don't
wearing
understand.
a rebel suit.
I don't understand how people can't get it through their thick skulls that the side shaved head was like popular for the last 5 years. There was a specific bump when that was really popular, and that's what's being referenced right here.
Unless he's going to
That's
reference...
not something that was ever in Star Wars. Name somebody with a side cut in Star Wars.
Yeah, unless he's going to reference the 70s or early 80s for punk and metal, and why they did that, if you know the reasons why they did that. But I don't think he's going to do that much research. I think he's going to just say, oh, Jeremy's a racist.
Isn't Star Wars known for its 70s style haircuts?
Exactly.
Jeez.
It's just showing... none of this is what I wanted to see. Damn, none of it's coming up. Most of this isn't even Legends material
You literally skipped over Ventress. She's got the buzz
$5.
cut.
Geeks and
with
Gamers said his
Mohican in the
fandom
middle.
menace pals are nothing more than grifting, red-pilled, transphobic, reactionary chuds. Keep the good work, Xanderhall. Wait, he said that?
That was
buzzword.
Oh, no, you said
That was so many buzzwords.
Yeah, that was a bit too much. Let's take a break and have a little super chat from Nathan Brake. Thank you, sir. Sort of off topic. How is your guys' luxuries manes growing? I think he's talking about our facial hair and hair in general. I actually just cut my own hair today. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. Just I missed a few spots, but get a nice buzz razor from Costco, and has like all these little attachments. Just do your own hair.
It's like Fight Club. We're all in Project Mayhem now. We're space monkeys. Because I actually did the same. I'm gonna after this stream probably I'm gonna shave my head again. But I've been growing my beard out to try and compensate.
Here's another super chat from TLJ Screwjob. Thank you, sir. Oh, Wolfenstein, because everyone wanted BJ to be a Jew and his dad to be a racist, because fighting Yahtzees wasn't enough of a motivator by itself. Good choice on the Yahtzee there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let me just tell a quick anecdote about that. There's a very funny thing, because it's BJ Blazkowicz, and I actually did the research on the name. There actually is a Johann B. Blazkowicz on the Nazi side. The Nazis had a Blazkowicz. But in fiction, the Americans have a Blaskovich. I just find that intensely funny.
It was a that game was not exactly the most well received. Let's just say the latest one.
No, but it's like I don't even care. Whatever they want to make him half Jewish or whatever. But again, I would be ignorant to say that they didn't do that for that reason. The same game that had what I'm complaining about, where a pregnant woman is sliding on her knees with 2 machine guns covered in blood with her tits out. Like, you can't tell me that that's like just like great art or whatever. That's artistically done. There's something going on there that's agenda or twisted ideology driven.
Even if the daughters were sons, it still would be obnoxious and annoying and not what you were expecting.
Yeah, which is the proof of that is Indiana Jones 4 is not something that people like. People want the actual character. They don't want the character's son or daughter.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Said, or and, not said. Okay. But yeah, like, Star Wars characters have always looked pretty fucking funny. Like, that's the point, because it's like a galaxy far,
Did
far
you just
away.
say that people who look like SJWs are funny looking?
Essentially.
Oof, that's not a good one for your own audience there, Xanderhal. But yeah, they got some weird SJW haircuts, and you went, to be fair, Star Wars has always had some funny-looking characters. I'm like, okay. Does that really help your side in this?
And it's also funny, because it's like, what if I like those... What if I actually like that side cut on a woman, or I just like that cut in general, but I just don't think it's right for Star Wars.
It's very cyberpunk, yeah. It's very specific genre vibes, punk, that sort of thing.
I actually retweeted that picture, and my comment was, if it didn't have Ahsoka Tano in it, you wouldn't know it's Star Wars.
Pretty much.
If it didn't have Ahsoka Tano in it, I wouldn't watch it.
Well, and then there's Jeremy's opinion, and then somehow that's racist. Like, wow, and he's sexist and racist for not liking his favorite female character being treated well because there are these SJW characters in it. And that, it must either be about the hair or the fact that they're brown skin. And it's like, man, who's the grifter here again? Making up fake arguments, straw manning people, and then getting money from super chats about it?
Didn't Jeremy just say that it was like one of many? Which would imply there are more than just the single reason he hates them because of their hair and or skin. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that one of them decided to dump all of their cargo out into hyperspace and go back to the criminal organization empty-handed, and then was surprised when they got locked up. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that they're basically retarded.
Sounds like they're badly written.
Sounds like they're terribly written.
They really are, though.
Sounds like they took a notch out of Ahsoka's intelligence as well, just so the arc would work. And again, Ahsoka as a character has spent her entire life in the Jedi Temple, yet she apparently knows more about criminal investigations and level 1313 than these two people who have lived there their entire life. It's just weird. She's like she's the Swiss Army knife of that arc, just to get these two weights, essentially. They're like a ball and chain on her legs. She's just dragging them around this entire arc, doing her own thing.
People were so excited that were Clone Wars fans for this thing to return, and I just knew that there was going to be some sort of compromise that's going to take away from the story, and I was just like, it's going to be ironic because all these fans of Ahsoka, they're going to be like, you know what? This is a great bridge, because if people care about like the feminist thing or strong woman character or whatever, we have the character ready to go. And what they're upset about is that they have these other characters that need to override this character. And there's no justification for it this time, because Ahsoka's not a white male or a white female or a whatever male. Like, she is whatever they want that character to be already, but they still have to take her away from the being important, because they just have this pathology of taking away from what we like.
Yeah, but this is the thing. They had the chance to do the Ahsoka as a sort of fish out of water character, because she's in a completely different environment to what she's experienced before, but they literally gave her the ability to understand everything of that sort of district, more so than the two characters who have lived there their entire lives. And it's like, well, what are the point of these two then? They're there solely to get her kidnapped so she can discover Darth Maul is alive, etc., etc., push the plot along to the final arc. So you could have done something far better written. She could have known nothing of where she was at, and have these two people mentor her and guide her and have them be semi-intelligent. And again, the fact they have strange haircuts is like, in terms of a criticism to levy at them for characters that exist in the show, it's quite far down the list in terms of things to sort of knock on them, in terms of what actually happens in the plot and the narrative and the way they act and how they impact other character decisions and the writing, which is obviously what they're gunning for, because it's the final arc of a season. It's the most important bit. They could have both been bold for, like, it's quite low down the list in terms of things to criticize. They are stupid characters, and yes, okay, they may or may not be SJWs, depending on what you think an SJW looks like. But them being SJWs does not make them stupid. They are SJW characters on top of being stupid.
But, like, the thing is, like, if you just didn't want to watch it because you didn't like SJWs and you just assumed that, why is that a problem? Why does that make you an asshole? You just don't want to engage in that. You don't even want to risk it because you're sick of it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it makes you an asshole. It kind of makes you unreliable as a source to sort of trust. So yeah, I don't like them because they look like this, and I don't like that. So, oh, okay, you're not going to give it a chance. Cool. It's kind of stubborn, and I'm not sure I like that perspective of you.
I tend to base a lot of my decisions on how good the trailers are, because I don't have time to devote myself to like hours and hours of experience, like especially video games. So I think the biggest one I ever watched, which hooked me in, was Suicide Squad. It had the best trailer I've ever seen. It's like, all right, I got to go see that, and I did. And wow, what a horrible idea that was. So you can have some bad decisions based off trailers just because the marketing department is very good. So I wouldn't blame just the designers. I wouldn't blame just the marketing. It's a combination of things to get you to watch and spend your time and money. So if you see something you dislike, if I see like a pickle on a pizza, I'm like, whoa, as much as I like those two things, just not together. So someone along the production line of that pizza did something very wrong. So wouldn't even want to waste my time with that chef. Wouldn't even want to waste my time going out there. So it's just basic stuff that will turn you off. Whether it's this or that reasoning, it makes no difference.
Bring up Holdo because purple hair. Look, it's a female. It's a strong female character.
Strong.
What?
Arguably.
Why do you think we like Leia?
With purple.
Isn't that funny
hair.
that I mentioned that?
That makes her an SJW character.
The
guys.
Delta,
that means
dude.
she's badly written, even though she fucking dies to save everybody.
But she's stupid.
Oh, she fucking dies. to save
Wow,
everybody.
that's a great character. Are you kidding me?
If her name was if it was Holdian, it was a male, and they acted the complete same way throughout the story.
Same shit.
Yeah, same shit, different gender.
But the fact she is purple hair, the fact she has a dress makes little sense.
Defend her.
In some sort of
Again, because you're
space
presuming I'm gonna judge you on your military actions based on your gender, not by your actions.
Well, if you choose to wear a dress and color your hair, there's probably something wrong with you. And what military organization would allow that? Like, oh yeah, wear a dress to work and color your hair and keep it long, and that's fine.
No, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with that idea. I'm cool with the togas and there being like a Roman Senate thing where it's like Mon Mothma. You can justify it however you want to. She's still a shitty military leader.
Are you wearing a badge or some form of identification, like a key card or what have you, on your person, or are you just coming in a ball gown? You're not going to wear a combat vest? We're kind of in the middle of a war right now.
Insignia, badges, medals, something to say you're part of a military organization. Nope, nothing.
Hierarchy? Akbar has badges on his armor.
Admiral Akbar.
Admiral Akbar has badges on his outfit because he's an admiral. They have badges because they've done things.
And Holdo's above that, and she has no badges. It's like, is she like special? Does she get the dress? She gets the dress down now. We're a little lax in the dress code today because you're in charge. She's like, what?
Why would you come to work in a ball gown?
So why are you wearing that? It's a dress code, isn't it? Well,
Quick,
this is my dress.
Quick, we need to evacuate the ship, get to the escape pods, and she just immediately trips over her own dress.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I can't run!
Exactly. No, better do the hold on maneuver. I can't get out of here. I'll my dress.
Yeah, it looks like everything as we scroll down is getting less related. But like, if you go back into like Legends material and like EU, like expanded universe
Which doesn't exist in Disney. Thank you.
It doesn't, no.
material with Star Wars, you see some pretty funky hairstyles. Even in the prequels themselves, basically every hairstyle that Padme had was pretty fucking ridiculous. And
It's
I get
it's a hairstyle. They didn't cut it like by shaving parts of it off. She had multiple haircuts based off styles, based off how much hair she had,
Okay.
what she could do with it.
And she also has hair that are based on very specific influences. So she has kabuki hair,
Yes.
kabuki makeup, and then she has 1930s style hair, Art Deco from like Revenge of the Sith, which is supposed to be referencing that kind of Americana. It's obvious. It's all very obvious. Now, what is this hairstyle referencing, if not what I outlined?
Yeah, it's like the cyberpunk
Yes.
thing. Where is that coming
Yeah.
from? Not
It's coming
Star
from
Wars.
a very from like the last 5 years of our history, just like all these ideas.
get that, you know, she's a queen / senator, and that's like the point. But like,
Okay, you're right. She has elaborate hairstyle. She's of royalty. She's a senator. Exactly. Tell me where this punk chick fits in.
Where does the pinkness of the hair fit in? Name another character that had their hair done in the original trilogy.
Maybe there's some meaning to be had. Maybe there's some history, but I've never seen it. I've never heard of it.
even Ventress's hairstyle, is this not an SJW hairstyle that Ventress has in the original?
No,
She's bald.
Yes. I'm gonna go shave my head. I'm gonna go outside and call me a skinhead. Then I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's an SJW haircut, isn't it?
She's an alien bald woman.
Can you make less sense?
It's almost like whatever the hairstyle is, the narrative remains unaffected by it, though.
Yeah.
It's weird
It's
how
like-
that works.
Isn't this hippie haircut an SJW hairstyle?
Hair
Isn't this?
is so important to the narrative, guys.
If I superimposed my face onto every Holdo scene and just said it was Vice Admiral Vaughn, that doesn't mean that just because I'm a different character, that makes the writing different.
Right, exactly. Because there's almost nothing in her character that is gendered anyway. It's all presented through gender. Like you said, imagine if she was a man. What changes then? What dialogue changes?
I just love how
What
every
attitudes?
picture is wrong. Like, it's just against his arguments. It's like every single one.
It's just the character wouldn't be a bitch; it would just be a smug git. That's the difference. See, the description of how terrible the character is changes, but the character is still terrible.
Should go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to dub over all the lines in a very deep voice, and just be Admiral Voldo or whatever.
Voldo.
Admiral Voldo.
I am Voldo. We are the spark that will light the fire that will restore the
Hope is like the sun.
Hope is like the sun.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, hope is like the sun. Or
You only believe on it when you see it. You'll never make it through the night.
I forgot the second part of that because it's so dumb.
Yes.
That, like my brain couldn't hold
The
it in.
same person who wrote Rose's lines wrote Holdo's lines, okay?
Yeah. And
That is how we'll win. Not
The
fighting
best-
what we hate,
feel
saving
like-
what we love.
the best line that he could present is "failure is the best teacher," because that's kind of hard to argue against. Because I think that failure on
a
the
good
way to
line.
success is actually key, But at the same time, think about all the good lines that George Lucas wrote that are just in the prequels, that are even just memes or whatever. I think that's hilarious.
I don't like sand.
Yeah, that's a better romantic line. Okay, before you kiss somebody, what do you want to hear? That's how we're gonna win. Saving what we love, not fighting what we hate or whatever. Or would you rather hear like a girl say, I hate sand. It's rough and court, and she's from a desert and she's in like the nicest place she's ever been in. That's a little bit more endearing, to be honest. You're like, wow, you know what? Welcome to Venice. You know what I mean? You've been on a fucking desert planet. It's like, I fucking hate sand. It's not romantic, but it's better than before somebody kisses you, before all your friends get hit with the laser, you know, fuck fighting them. If you blew that up, that's not going to do anything. How did she know? Like, you're like, bitch, you're crazy. I don't know who you are. Meanwhile, you're at a place in Naboo with the person that you love more than anything, and they're complaining about like how bad their childhood was with just like a simple line. Like, one makes way more sense than the other. Sorry.
George just needed some help with those dialogue choices. That's all he needed. He had the right idea. Just needed someone else to do the writing for him.
Yeah, it's just the I hate sand. It's coarse and rough, and then like not smooth. Like, it's just a little creepy sounding. It's a little too much. Need a couple drafts there.
There's a bit to that. Needs a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah. If he had done something that was like traditionally like daring, roguish hero, like he's like, I hate sand. It's rough and coarse. Not like everything is smooth. And then he like jumped off a cliff into a lagoon, and it was all romantic and shit. That would make a little bit more sense. But it's so clunky. It's so clunky.
Clone Wars? Legends Izzy? I know, Expanded Universe Legend. I know, whatever. Is this not an SJW hairstyle? It's hot as fuck. But is this not like an SJW hairstyle?
I'm actually kind of
here?
pissed if you ask me.
Like, this is not unusual. This is
that Ventress or supposed to be Ventress?
I think it was concept art for her at one point.
Okay, well, that's not Ventress. So...
Or it's a younger version. She has that hairstyle in a flashback at one point during the Clone Wars.
Really? Okay.
The animated show when she was actually still a Jedi Padawan.
I don't know what that does not look like an SJW hairstyle to me. I've seen people downtown, but it's more or less a body type that goes along with multicolored hair. So no, I guess. He's just reaching at this point, so I don't really care, but it's just...
Yeah.
I remember he's focusing on this because Jeremy said it was one of the reasons, and it's like the most thin veneer of an excuse to not like a character I've heard. But he said one of the reasons. So obviously there's more to explore with what he doesn't like about these characters. Yet he's he's building up one thing, and it's got everything to do with the hairstyles, and that somehow makes him racist.
not some new like.
Glib, out of curiosity, what color is your hair?
My hair?
Yeah.
In real life?
Yeah.
It's like a dirty blonde.
Ugh. Oh, I hate you type of people.
Well, it's like it. Yeah. I don't know. My beard.
You shouldn't be in any TV shows ever because I hate blonde people. Okay.
My beard hair is blonde, and then my regular hair auburn and
dye your hair ginger.
No, I'm losing my hair slowly. Because I have Slavic genes. So over the next 4 years, I won't even have hair.
That's better. I don't like blonde people.
Yeah.
Do the Guy Fieri look. Get the spiked bleached hair.
Welcome to Flavor Town. He's great. I like watching him. He's a low-key troll. People don't realize.
Maloney has fallen down the SJW rabbit hole and is now turning. Yeah, if anything, it's a fucking SJW Karen haircut. If anything.
No, you can't use the K word.
Wait. So thank you for confirming what I said. I win again. Thank you for confirming that even from the SJW's lips himself, that's an SJW Karen haircut. It's a trope. Sorry. I
don't even know what he's talking about.
You know the Karen meme?
I've heard it. I don't know what it means though.
Okay, so Karen is like, imagine a middle-aged wine-drinking soccer mom, and she goes to the manager of the sports store, and she's like, "My son's cup doesn't fit," and it's like, "I want to speak to the manager right now. I'm not leaving until I speak to the manager." And then like the manager comes out, and she just like berates him for like 30 minutes. So Karen is somebody who's always trying to inject her stupid-ass Facebook opinion into stuff. So it's hilarious that he's saying that these characters are SJW Karens, which is basically why Jeremy doesn't want to watch it. So what is Jeremy doing that's wrong? Jesus, save me.
All because of a hairstyle he didn't like. This guy's really reaching.
All because of a hairstyle.
Here's a super chat from TLJ Screwjob. Thank you. That's a great name. The gender swapping Jeremy referred to was the Asian VA of Ahsoka's male love interest being replaced by the 2 women. And he didn't
Yes,
even
that's
know he was
right.
out.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's horrible, man.
One of the females originally, because they showed some of these clips when it was like pre-lit, so it wasn't fully rendered. One of the characters that Ahsoka meets, I think the younger one with the sort of front afro, was actually a male by the name of something Okami. I've forgotten. It was supposed to be a male love interest for Ahsoka, and I don't know how far that story was developed, but obviously it was changed at some point. At this point, I'd actually just be more interested into knowing what the previous storyline was. Take away a love interest for Ahsoka, essentially. But yeah, it was one of those. Yeah, we're making this guy Nix Okami. Thank you. That's right. And it was supposed to be a male character, and I don't know if the story was different. But again, if it wasn't any different, well, then Nix was a terribly stupid character, just like whatever her name is also a stupid character.
Yep.
Wouldn't make a
That's the
damn
paradox.
difference. Wouldn't make a damn difference, even if the haircut was the same.
And this is from back in, like, what, 2000?
Identity is not your personality.
2013?
Exactly.
I don't know. Geeks and Gamers is brain dead. We all know this. This is not news to any of us.
He's brain dead, guys. Differing opinions, doesn't like hair, he's brain dead. What an argument. Why would I... No one would ever say that,
He's
or
brain
at least on
dead,
this
and
channel.
He thinks the haircut is silly. I don't think the haircut is silly.
Like Major
personally.
Lee, Wit and Folly, we crack jokes, they say they're crazy. I don't think they're brain dead. I think they're using their brains a bit too much, actually, and projecting so hard. But I never say they're brain dead or not thinking. They're probably not seeing things properly because of their bias. What a strange thing to say.
Yeah.
He's brain dead.
Yeah,
he doesn't like
he
hair.
He doesn't like the hair. It's like, okay, I do like the hair. Let's, whatever, a small detail. Let's talk about more. Let's agree on what makes them terrible characters, Jeremy. He's like, yeah, okay. And then he probably list off like 30 things they did that were stupid.
Many reasons why I haven't bothered with the Ahsoka arc in Season 7. F these SJW looking characters. So then I got a lot of people, going, whoa, what, because of the hair, Jeremy? That's not...
Yeah, which is exactly what this dude's doing.
I saw that tweet, and I can guarantee that most of the comments weren't because of the hair. As a matter of fact,
Then why did you bring up the hair in the first place? What is...
Why did you do this? Why did you go on this tangent to look at the hairs of different?
Why did you
characters,
confirm?
man?
Why did you confirm that he's being criticized for the hair?
Does anyone want to try and, just so we're all on the same page, does anyone want to try and elaborate on what Jeremy's tweet actually is? Because it's clearly not about the fact he hates the characters because of the hairstyles. Does anyone want to give it a crack?
I feel like I did. I feel like I gave an explanation as to how it's a trope. It's reused all the time. It's confirmed by the fact that this guy said that it looks like an SJW Karen haircut. I didn't say Karen, but I say that side cut ended up being appropriated by the SJWs. It wasn't only SJWs. That's like a hairstyle that Christy Mack, the porn star, had for a couple of years. It was popular from a very specific art style and aesthetic with a certain group of people, and that happened to overlap with SJWs.
Yeah,
and now,
I was going to say
that becomes a sign for somebody like Jeremy who's been trained to react and go, "Oh no, they're bringing this shit in again." I know it's coming.
I wouldn't go that far. The way I interpret this is that he says, "Yes, I hate these characters for many, many reasons." This is obviously it's a 200 character long tweet, so I can't obviously talk about that. It was like, yeah, I hate these characters for many reasons. And I'm just commenting on the fact that on top of the fact I hate them for these many reasons, they also happen to look like what I believe to be SJW characters, essentially. So yeah, I've watched the thing. They're terribly written, or they're terribly performed, or I really don't like their personalities. And on top of that, I think they look like SJW. But it's like he's talking about one thing. It's like me saying, I really don't like Gimli in in Lord of the Rings, because I think he is mostly in there for comic relief and doesn't push the plot. I'm not saying I agree with that, but there we go. It's like, I don't like Gimli from the Lord of the Rings. Fuck these midget-looking characters.
Can I alter that a little bit? How about
voice hates midgets? It's like, no, I don't like the way he's written. I'm also just commenting on the fact that he is short as well.
Do you like the female wood elf from The Hobbit?
No, I think
that's
quite
what this is
forced.
like. It's a new character that's not in the canon already, that's added in to be some sort of love interest replacement or some sort of competition to one of the main characters. Why does that character need to exist? It doesn't. But it exists to push forward whatever she brings into it.
The point is that Phoenix has pointed out is that Jeremy has not watched this arc before making this tweet, which does create some sort of confusion, because he hasn't. If he hasn't watched the arc yet and he's basing it purely off the aesthetics, then I would sort of honestly, I'd ignore what he was saying and actually check it out for myself, because I don't think the way they look is enough of a reason to not watch the show and to immediately claim they are bad.
I'm not saying that either, but I'm saying that Jeremy's perfectly fine to be able to say, because of the way that these characters look and because of what I've heard about them casually, I don't want to watch it. I think it's bad.
Yeah, but I could not make the erroneous claim that the arc is bad purely because I look at the characters and I don't like the way they look, kind of thing.
Did he say that?
No, he didn't say that.
Okay,
but this is what people are going to say, and this is what people are going to interpret, because this is the biggest flaw I can contribute to Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers is he words it in such a way that they can twist this, or they can interpret it this way, and it is ammunition that, again, he's sort of provided simply because he hasn't articulated it in the right way. Yeah. And that's a flaw on his part. That doesn't mean he's deserving of backlash, but you can understand how it would be taken this way and used as ammo against him. And I think it's something he needs to, if he doesn't understand, he needs to.
Agreed.
Basically, every comment was negative. Hey, in the distance, thanks for the $5. I appreciate it, buddy. Very, very, very generous. Most of the comments were either, dude, really? This is what you're bitching about now? Like, literal fans of him that are, like, following him that were like, this is why you're not... Like, what? This is, like, such a... Really? Over their hairstyle? And the rest of them were like, it's because they're brown, huh? You just don't like brown people? Is that why? No brown people in your Star Wars? Either way,
again, this is the
Either
thing,
way.
because he hasn't said anything like this, so you're left to just sort of make a guess of why he's not watching it.
In this entire tweet, did I say
it's funny, he didn't even say anything about the hair.
Oh, is he going to admit to it being because they're brown? Oh, shit. Wait, the mask is slipping, chat.
But again, yeah,
He's admitting
like I said,
Ahsoka isn't
this
white,
is the thing. He hasn't.
She's an alien, okay? She's not
he
a
hasn't
human,
provided
so it's
any
okay
reason
that
for
she's
why
brown.
he wouldn't
Let's be
watch
real
it. He's just said
Hair.
they're SJWs.
Yeah,
So what have you
it's
left for people
definitely
to assume or
SJW
infer?
styled hair, but that's not
Well, what do you
my
think?
main gripe here. My main gripe
Well, I'd
has
like
to
to
do
think
with
for the best of
many,
people,
many
so-
things. The hair playing a small role in a much
All
bigger
right.
picture here.
The mask
the
is
gender
slipping.
swapping, which is 100% SJW.
Okay, so one is gender
Absolutely,
swapping.
positively, and there's no doubt about that. There is no good reason to gender swap characters. Absolutely not. The fact that we are dealing with the company that...
So number 2 is the history of the company.
What?
That the company is known for putting females ahead of males.
Okay. Hold on. For starters, gender swapping is not SJW. Gender swapping, like, as a concept, has been very popular throughout media
Since
for
when?
a very long time. They've done it in, like, old-ass comics in the fucking 60s, where they make, like, most of the popular female superheroes in comics are... They're just, like...
Those are comic books where they have entire
That's
plot
also-
lines dealing with why that happened, like magic or this or that. This is literally
That's
a
also
character
bullshit.
from one season to the other, suddenly a different character. Looks and appearance.
There is no female or male gender swapped character that's more popular than the original character. Name one. Spider-Woman? Are you kidding me? No. And there's no character in the comic books that, like, the woman suddenly becomes the man. Like that woman never just suddenly becomes Batman,
Yeah,
even though she's
it's
a
not
woman.
just a trope for the sake of it. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It has to have relevance. You can't just say, "Hey, aren't you Bob? Now you're Bobby." Like, what the hell happened? No, that's not how you tell a story.
Gender swapping is fun when you have an alternate spin-off and you just do that in whatever role you want to take.
Yeah.
So like if you have, if you wanted to do it's funny, it's just like, here's a gender swap. If you made a Terminator 2 sequel that was about John Connor, and John Connor was playing the Sarah Connor role, and Sarah Connor was playing the Arnold Schwarzenegger role, as like, this is the Guardian, and this is the character that it needs to be protected to make it to the destination. That would be a gender swap of roles. It wouldn't be SJW, and it would be coherent within the plot. And what's funny is that Jeremy is pointing out that these characters, without even watching it, don't belong. And all the Clone Wars people are confirming him. What's the issue is that people, and I agree with like what people are saying in chat, they want an informed decision. They want Jeremy to sit down, watch the thing, and then give his opinion, because he'll be wrong. And he is wrong, because he's all about being timely instead of thorough.
Yeah. Well, this is the big issue, is that I wouldn't call it swapping it from one male character to two female characters. I wouldn't call that SJW. I'd call it simply just a bad decision to make from a production standpoint, because you are left with two characters who only have half a personality each. Right. And it was just more expensive, because you had to literally create two new models to replace an existing one that already had a complete storyline, because it was both characters rolled into one. I don't understand that logic. I don't understand. Again, I do believe that if you're basing the fact you're not going to watch the arc purely based on the aesthetics of the characters, I think, as much as you are entitled to do that, I think it is a very shallow perspective to take. But that doesn't mean I'm going to call you, brainless for making that decision. You can do that if you want. That's fine. But you obviously, and he's not saying that the arc is bad purely because of the way the characters look. He just has no interest. It's like, okay, you're more than welcome to not have an interest, but it is a kind of shallow perspective to take. And because you have not elaborated in this tweet as to why you are leaving people to assume what your reasons are for why you don't like them and why you assume they are SJW look.
I would say if you're changing a character from male to female with no explanation in a trailer of a series you already know, that's a bad
It's
step.
just more work for yourself.
It's a really bad step.
Like, imagine
it's more work for yourself.
the story of the Next Generation, where they all got transformed into kids. If there was not a proper a transporter accident that caused that to happen, you'd be like, what is going on? You can't just do that in a science fiction or a hard science fiction story. So they have to provide all that exposition at the start, saying, oh, this is an accident, we have to figure it out. You have to stay this way for a while, give us some time. So they have to figure out their lives while they get captured by the Ferengi or whatever. So that's fine. You can do crazy crap like that, provided it makes sense. You can't just show us a trailer of Picard's a child because he is. No, it's like a transporter accident goes wrong, blah, blah, blah. You're like, oh, okay. Now I can get interested, as opposed to, here's a screen cap of a trailer of clearly a gender swap character. You're like, what the hell happened? How did this? Right. Is that a thing in the Star Wars universe? Can we make sense of this? If there isn't, I get pretty pissed off. Now, Jeremy might have insight into that. Maybe he's seen this before. Maybe he knows comics better than I do. Maybe he knows SJW comics. Maybe he knows all sorts of other things about SJWs. He might have a valid reason. I have no idea. But either way, if it is a retcon, that is still a bad thing, no matter what the change might be. And if he identifies it as SJW, he might be right.
I also think that it's just wrong to say that mirrored characters of the heroes that are male or female originally are the ones that people remember. I think that the unique qualities of each character are what people remember. There's no male Black Widow. That she is Black Widow. There's one of them. And if you made a female Iron Man, it'd just be a female Iron Man. You need to have, Spider-Man and Black Cat. There's no male Black Cat. It wouldn't make any sense. Or Catwoman. It doesn't work that way. You need to have characters that are organically built. and reasoned why are they a certain way. And then you'll get a character that actually people can connect with.
Female versions of already created characters. Is every artist who does Rule 63, are they SJW now?
No.
The fuck? That's not what gender swapping is.
Is every Rule
essence,
63
it
artist
is.
canon?
I can explain the gender swap. Type it out in chat, Spooky. I don't even know what the well, no, Adventure Time is definitely SJW. That, to be fair, it is pretty progressive. I was about to say Fiona and Cake would be an example of, I guess, SJW gender swapping.
Thought it was taking place in a
it's good in that
parallel
case.
universe. That's why
Hey,
they were
Xanderhal,
different
what do you
genders.
think of? I have no idea. Please stop
It was,
spamming.
it was just a dumb episode.
Please stop spamming Morale Dandy. I'm trying to focus. Bubbling? That's kind of gay. Hey, Ched Logic. I'm waiting for Spooky's explanation.
So he doesn't have a point.
Because I have no idea what he's
Right.
referencing here about the gender swap.
Yep.
But let me guess, it's going to be bad whether he knows what he's talking about or not.
Alright, either way, it's not important. I'll wait for Spooky to type it out. Let's continue watching.
Gave us Ray bestest ever.
So basically, the original unfinished episodes, the girl character were guys.
No, a guy.
So there was like an original draft of unfinished episodes where these characters
No,
were
single
guys.
guy.
And then in the rewrite, when they ended up doing like the final product, they were female.
Here comes the snark. Here comes the snark.
What a fucking snowflake!
Hey, there it
was
is.
written gender neutral.
Deeply informative.
That's probably true. Yeah. There's
What a
nothing like specific
bitch.
to a
Like,
character that
seriously?
would
Oh my
make a woman
God.
need to be a woman. Which is probably why so many reactions.
Can't believe he doesn't like women.
She's like in physicality a female character only.
What?
Thank you for the $2, Larry Banks. Is this really what he's bitching about? Really? This is what this guy is fucking whining and crying about. I'm gonna bring myself up here because I'm covering him up. I want you guys to be able to enjoy Geeks and Gamers. Lovely look what a handsome man Geeks and Gamers is.
Kind of better
Geeks and
looking.
Gamers is one person.
Look at him. Look at that face.
Ugh.
That's a face that
He's kind of
that
better
anybody
looking
could
than you,
love.
mate.
I want you
Jeremy's
guys to
pretty
be able
handsome.
to look at him with
Good
me.
looking guy.
You guys shouldn't be able to escape being able to look at him. I want you guys to see him too.
Oh my god, he's
If you-
so
if-
attractive. Oh,
If you want to be petty with how he looks, we can do this to you. I don't know how this helps your case at all. He actually has clear skin and not a weird sort of teenage mustache going on.
At least he looks like he made it through puberty without a couple hits to his face.
He looks like he can tan without going completely Red Lobster.
He looks like he can stand up
He looks like
for
he has chest.
himself. Seriously, it's just... ugh. I don't like going for that like Jay Longbone style thing. I'm not very good at it, but
Is
Come on, bro.
Jeremy short or tall? I forget.
he's tall, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, I remember it's one or the other. He's
Or maybe
either
short, I
pretty
don't know.
tall or pretty short. I don't know.
I thought that he was just a dude that underplayed a lot of shit. He's got
I
that fucking curly blonde hair that he's ashamed of or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Let's go for 30 minutes because this guy's really getting silly.
Yeah. Let's just finish this dude off.
So I'm gonna
With,
go ahead.
what is it?
and move on.
over
The
his
right
face.
proper way where you unscrew your pommel and you throw it at him?
Dry. Oh god.
End
Every
him
single
rightly.
female in this chat just fucking dried up like the Mojave Desert. Yeah, let's continue. This guy's a fucking snowflake bitch. How's this guy got the fucking goal to call, like, people on the left SJW snowflakes when he's the one crying about a fucking gender swap in, like, from two characters that were, like, written in like, in the pre-production, like, in the original script, they were guys when they decided, let's make the season yet. Either way, even if there's no reason for it other than just, like, artistic license, why? Why is this something to whine about unless you're either, one, a crybaby bitch snowflake, or just a grifter who gives, like, literally no shits about, like,
Again,
the
I
integrity-
don't see there being a reason to whine about it because it's such a small detail. But likewise, I don't see much of a reason to praise it either for being a changed detail.
He's
It's
just
kind of one of those. All right.
He made one tweet,
this-
didn't like it. That's it. Now this guy's making a big deal about it. Now he's making a reaction video to it. It's like, okay.
Why can't you just make a principled statement like, I don't like it when things that were already set in stone that I wanted to see at the end of when Clone Wars was canceled. I just want to see those things restored. That's a principled statement. And then he goes, oh no, there's no reason. It's because he's either a grifter or he's a bitch snowflake or something like that. It's like, no, that's clearly not actually the reason. The reason's easily discernible.
And
You just
if they're going
wanna
to
dunk on him.
if they're going to tamper with how the characters look and how many characters there are, then doesn't that kind of open up the conversation of how much they're going to tamper with the characters' writing and how much they're going to tamper with the world building and the plot? Because you've opened up that they've gone back to the drawing board to create entirely different characters. Therefore, they've had to go back to the drawing board to create entirely different stories for them. And then you're looking at, okay, how much of this have they actually changed from what was already planned out before the show was cancelled?
Also an appropriate reference of artistic license. Like, just because you have the artistic license to do something doesn't mean you should for the sake of the story that already exists. It's
And it
season
doesn't
7.
necessarily stop there either.
No.
Of your points at all. Anyway, thank you for the $2, Larry Banks.
For Palpatine, the company that gave us Holdo, the company that gave us
He's going down the list.
L337 and Rose Tico, all of
L337?
He doesn't even know.
Isn't that like the robot that... Wait, wasn't that the robot that Lando was fucking in the Solo movie?
Wow.
Yes,
Is he just...
Where did he learn that from Major Lee? Because there's no mention of that in the movie.
Well, it's funny that he has the same cynical attitude as people who hated the movie, but then he's like, why do you have a problem with that? Why do you have a problem with this totally stupid thing? Why do you care so much? Like, because he's a fan.
Apparently he does too. You just never saw the movie. It's like, okay.
listing female characters that he's mad about now? Is this what this is?
Yeah.
Is that all that this is?
Why do we?
Just him
Why should we like characters that are a disservice to the female sex as men? Just because they're female? Why can't we be offended also that they're bad representations of women? Why can't we stand there as allies, you idiot, and be like, yeah, you're writing shitty characters? What does our gender have to do with it?
We deserve better female characters.
Because we love
better written
women.
female characters.
We
You get
deserve
to
better,
look
we
at
love
them.
it.
we deserve better characters across the board. Heck, it wasn't just the
We need
females.
better
Exactly.
characters, period. Yeah.
Yeah. So she just happens to be female, and he's literally just talking about the gender swap. He's referencing something specifically. He's not just randomly saying that it's because, like, if it were a gender swap from female to male, and that was the trend, then he would be discussing that. But again, this Xander dude just wants to ignore reality and ignore context. Typical.
about female characters? Is that what that's what I'm titling the video? Geeks and Gamers just hates females in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the reason. There we go.
Terrible characters that were created
Ahsoka.
specifically for diversity's sake.
Okay, here's a super chat from Bogue. Thank you. Come on, guys, you get to look at women.
You get to look at women.
What's wrong with you?
By the way, because I left last time, did during the Major League video, did he reference the lesbian kiss at all? Did he say anything about it?
No, he didn't actually.
Really?
Yeah. He showed it on screen, but he didn't
wow.
reference it.
Oh, okay.
He-
Damn.
No, he had a lot of it was interesting. He had a lot of criticisms of how bad the film was, but he loved it. It was amazing. It's like describing crap. And you're like, I love this crap.
This shit is delicious.
This is the best shit I've ever eaten.
Yeah, I am a little concerned.
Okay. In what way could you ever know that? Does he know the creators of the Star Wars movies? Does he have like a direct pipeline with them, you know? He calls them up on the phone and was like, "Hey, whoever the fuck at Disney that makes the Star Wars movies, I don't give a shit anymore."
Says the
You made
fan
this
of
video,
Star Wars. Oh my god. Little lady called Kathleen. No? Doesn't ring a bell? And what's wrong with bitching? Again, there's nothing wrong with being angry over characters you want to like that have nothing to them. There's no substance to them, whether they're male or female. He's simply listed the female ones because they were bad characters. And now we have whatever the gender swap character was.
I mean, here's the thing. this isn't coming from a perspective where Xanderhal has even watched the arc and he can be like, actually, this was good because X, Y, and Z. He's got as much knowledge going into this as Jeremy did when he made this tweet. He's not watched this, so he can't be like, Jeremy, you've actually really jumped the gun on this one. It was actually a really good arc for X, Y, and Z reasons. Even if that wasn't true, but he'd at least have like a greater. He would at least be able to laud the idea that he has the greater perspective over him when he made this tweet because he actually consumed the content and therefore has an insight on what he's talking about, even if what he said isn't true.
It wouldn't take much either. You would just watch the show and say, "Oh, Jeremy's wrong because there's nothing to hate about it. This is a good character because X, Y, Z." And
yeah,
nope,
he's
Jeremy's
jumped the gun. He's shown his hand because he hasn't. He's judged the character. He's judged the book by the cover, kind of thing.
Here's another super chat from Bogue. Thank you, Karen Cat Kennedy. Never pushed an agenda. Never. Oh, Karen Cat. That's a cute name. Call someone Karen Cat. I don't know. I like it. Okay, we got 1 minute left. I think we can do this.
Yeah, we can get through it.
Did you make this character because of like diversity quotas or something? And then they're like, yeah, we're afraid that the SJWs were gonna get mad if we didn't have a certain amount of female characters with crazy hair in our movies. So yeah, we're just gonna throw them in there.
I'm gonna be honest, that wouldn't surprise me if someone had said that.
No, it sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Like, a female. What color is your hair? It's blonde. No, it's too Aryan. What could it be?
Blue.
Blue. Yeah. Too anime.
Yeah.
Blue.
Ginger, white, and with red hair. Make her black, dude. Come on.
We'll shave one side and we'll sweep the rest over, and we'll give her sort of dark rouge lipstick and a fur coat. There we go.
If there is no SJW agenda to have,
I mean,
people don't feel slighted because people don't look exactly like them and entitled to some sort of representation based on the way that they look. Which, by the way, imagine if race or whatever wasn't tied to it. Imagine if I just came out and said, I need more movies with me in it. They got to look more like me. How entitled do you have to be for that request? You know what I mean? And there's no criteria for us to satisfy it because it'll never be enough. So it's a losing game. So all you can do is fight it and say, no, I'm not doing that. And then they just whine. So of course it makes sense that Disney would try to mitigate this by throwing a couple bones. They're like, look, there's a gay kiss in the back, but we cut it out of China's release, whatever.
So progressive.
So progressive. I'm like, I don't have an agenda other than to make good content and to talk about reality. So I'm not gonna try and push anything like that. So I'm sick of it when anybody does.
I'm not gonna be on. Sorry, go for it.
I'm just gonna list the super chat from Bogue again. On a roll here, Bogue. By the way, the force is female. Signed, KK Kennedy. Ooh.
The force is female.
Yeah.
Jawohl.
I'm gonna be honest. It might just be me, so I don't know. But the chick in the foreground, to be honest, with the design, come on, you would, wouldn't you?
Which?
The one in the foreground.
You talking about this animated stuff?
Yes.
It just looks terrible to me. The Clone Wars has always looked ugly to me.
I don't know. I would.
You know what? That Jeremy's looking real handsome right now. I'm just kidding.
I would as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That Chad is looking sexy right now. Hey, Chad, how you doing, baby?
Not the one in the middle. Either the one in the back or the foreground. Totally would. Absolutely. Does that make me weird? Maybe.
Yes, you are the weirdo in the radio now.
Have I judged them based on appearance solely? Yes.
Yes.
Their personalities suck.
Here's
very good.
Oh,
very good.
Super chats are coming in. Slow down, sirs. Demonic Beast Megatron. Again, that cool nickname. Demonic Beast Megatron 94. Try to get Xander on here next time. Don't pull any punches with him. I'll ask him on Twitter, but I highly, highly doubt he'd care as soon as he saw this cast. There's no way.
I don't want to argue with those conservative idiots. Fuck them. They're small brained.
Essentially, idiots. Yeah. Like we're already his enemy by virtue of not being like him. So we could be as nice as possible. He wouldn't do it. But we can try. I'll be nice. I'll definitely extend a hand. It's not a big deal. He's not like one of those the other guys we've tried. Well, we didn't even try, but Jack Saint and the other person.
I wouldn't bother
They're
with
not
them.
even worth our time.
No.
Bogue, thank you. The girls are not thick enough to be space Latinas. They could be
I
young
agree.
space Latinas. You know, you
There
never
you
know.
go.
They could be brown
Like
and black and partially
40%,
They're
40%
obviously
more curvature required.
brown.
It has to be
Yeah.
mixed. Always mixed. Everything is mixed up, okay? Nothing pure. Purity is evil and Nazi somehow. I don't know. and whatever that means is up to interpretation, because I don't even know.
Sickness for that thickness.
Yeah, me too. We need more thick Latinas in Star Wars. This is my
Why are
demand.
there, why
That's
are there
not
no
hard.
fat
That's not
women?
going to be hard to find at all.
Oh, it'll be hard. No, sorry. Anyway, let's finish him.
Care if they're good characters or not. Is that what he thinks? Is that what happens?
Mortal Kombat.
Is that how he knows? He must know, right? He would never make a claim like that unless he knew, right? Doesn't that spell leet? Not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does spell leet. Although
What does that
usually it's
even mean?
1337 if you're doing leet speak. But either way, it's a good meme.
The Force is female. So when we
Wait, base spooky, is that true? Luke and Leia were originally one female character? Oh, damn. If that's actually
is that
true,
really true?
No,
somebody
that's
should
not
go
true
dig
at
that.
all.
If that's actually true,
No.
oh,
No.
the original
No.
trilogy even is SJW
No.
propaganda. We
No,
got him.
no,
George
no.
Lucas is a
No,
fucking
the
SJW.
original-
We fucking
The original
got him.
idea is
things
General
happen like
Kenobi
this, it's a
and his
gender
two
swap.
sons.
It's a clear diversity
Oh,
push.
yeah, yeah.
You get
Anakin
representation,
and
which is
whatever the other
something
one was.
Lucasfilm
And
can't
Mace
stop
Windy,
preaching about.
the Jedi Bendu.
It's one of those things that all of these little things add up and become a big problem. And
Why is it a problem? Why is diversity like a bad thing? Because
Gee, let me think. If that is your mandate to have diverse characters for the sake of it without having any relevance to characterization, to plot progression, to plot character development, why even have it? Like, why not have
It's shallow.
this was the funny thing. I can't remember the actress's name, the Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok. She was saying these comments
Oh,
about
yeah.
she wants
Tessa Thompson.
Yes, Tessa Thompson. She wants to have black or people of color who are female who are disabled because that's what reflects her life.
Sure, and it's like, you know what? Go and do that. That's fine, but like your vote should be just as consistent as anybody here's vote. So you're one person. Now you want that one thing. What are we talking about? A commercial art form. So what's the biggest amount of votes going to want? And that's what we're going to go with because we want a return on our investment. You know what that produces? Generally family-friendly action, you know, a little bit of romance, lighthearted stories that have to do with superhero characters doing the right thing. That's what's popular. So you want to fight what's popular and try and superimpose your agenda on top of it and assume that they're equivalent. And when you ask stupid questions like, why is diversity good? No, diversity isn't the problem. The earth is already diverse by nature. Diversity is a given. Hollywood, Los Angeles is a port city with a lot of different diversity. There's so many different kinds of people here. There's so many opportunities for everybody. The only people that are trying to gatekeep at this point, people from jobs, are people that are trying to promote an agenda. Everybody else just wants to get work because it's money and it's your life. It's not just art. So I hate all these dumb arguments. Like, if you want to go and make these art house films with all of these diverse agenda stuff, I'd love to see you support that without the agenda of Disney behind it, without big money behind it, because what you're selling isn't actually being purchased. There's no demand to meet your supply, Tessa.
So having inclusive characters for the sake of it is not the point of good story. It's not even a quality of good storytelling.
Well,
If you want to tell maybe
Nope.
having diverse characters has no guarantee of like changing the characters or making the characters diverse has no guarantee of improving the quality of your product. Nor does it have any guarantee of having a negative effect. If you'd ask me, it's just one of those kind of things. It's just all right.
It's just there.
But you don't go, all right, let's add a black person, let's add a Hispanic, let's add a bisexual female in. This will make our product more successful. No, that's not how it works. Or that's not how it should work to anyone who is rational anyway. There are people out there who there are no people out. I know there are people out there that will go, oh, there's this race in it or this sexuality in it. I'm going to go watch it now because it will be good. I know there are people out there in the same vein that there are people like Jeremy who will go, I won't watch it because there's this character right now. And again, I know he probably has elaborated more on that since then, but that is essentially what the tweet said.
All right, we have one more super chat. I think we're going to call it a day. I don't know when we're going to do this next. We could do it tomorrow. I'll plan that out later. But it's been pretty good so far. I mean, I thought it would be really cringy. This is just sort of weak sauce and sitting around going, oh, this is silly. Oh, this is another bad take. Oh, here we go again. So this one's from GBOF Sid. Thanks again. Do y'all heard of Slaughterhouse-5 or Catch-22? Of course I have. Those are books by Kurt Vonnegut. I haven't read them. I've read his Galapagos. I thought that was excellent. Kurt Vonnegut is, of course, a very famous satirist, and his writing style is very unique, and he's a very smart man. So anyone who wants to get into reading or wants to read some good satire or quick, like he does not care about subtlety. He just, boom, he just throws it on the page. There's no mystery in his words. There's no mystery in his plots.
No.
Kurt Vonnegut is fantastic. He's amazing.
And if you're a writer, then I suggest you look at the little lectures that he did about the shapes of stories and how there's a rise and a
Those
fall,
are cool.
because it's very helpful.
Those are simple.
It's just very
It's
it's a good way to get introduced into the idea that stories don't have to be one way.
right, and it's not about the narrative structure. He just sort of paints a picture that makes it easy to understand, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand what you're getting at. It's not a complex notion. It's not something that you want to only look at, but it's a great way to start.
Exactly. Well, guys, I think we did pretty good. We lost Shiny there for a moment, but he'll be back next time. Don't you dare! It's going to be Star Wars, always with Shiny on board, so he's always going to try and make time. In the meantime, we do have channels aside from mine to check out, so go ahead in the description, check them out. Glib, you've got yours. I know Voice in the Radio has his.
Yep.
Lots of detailed, meaningful commentary on your YouTube chats or actual videos or essay style videos. I know Voice does that. So
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Where there's more coming, I'm sure that you guys have stuff that you're working on. I'm working on a pretty big project right now. It's taken me a long time to sort through everything, but
Yeah, same here.
it should be a couple weeks maybe before I start to really put something out there that's I'm invested in. I'm doing a very long form thing, and it's a TV show, and it's only season 1 of a TV show, so it's going to be a very long man style.
Is it the mandolin?
Yeah.
The what? No, it's going to be a Mr. Robot thing, but it's going to be called Building Mr. Robot, and it's all about it's more than just writing. It's about references and about how writing is constructed from ideas and what references come into play. So should be interesting, but that's my next project, so stay tuned for that, and then I'm going to start streaming some more stuff. This has been a great way to get into the cycle of that, so stay posted.
Nice one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for your time, and we'll talk to you as soon as we can. Take it easy.
Have a better one.
Ta-ra.